NB pals, guys and gals, welcome back to the Rogue Room. I am your beloved matriarch or something. I don't fucking know. One of those rich people that has a lot of power and money, but I don't have either of those things. I'm just some person on the internet, and yet, shockingly, wildly, crazily, I have a thought on my mind that occurred to me yesterday when we were dealing with that person that keeps coming back, and last night decided to start the discourse on transmedicalism, which is a whole thing. And we could talk about that more in depth if you'd like, but it reminds me specifically of a bit of a narrative point I've noticed the last few times I've been around TERVs on Twitter and YouTube comment sections, notably. This idea that trans people, and especially with regards to the Dave Chappelle special recently, this idea that trans women somehow possess power. Yes, power, as in like a sort of class-based idea that we hold all the cards. It's a really bizarre concept to me personally. How you going, folks? What's going on? Wassa, you're gonna need to read some notes for your degree. Sounds good. I don't know why. I'm just gonna call this out right now. I don't know why Fox refers to me as the Pineapple Queen, because it has no meaning. I don't know. Anyways, I never took up the role. You foisted it upon me. I never agreed to this, which has some disturbing implications. Hello, everybody. How you go? Oh, you like the collar? I haven't worn this one in a while. I'm quite fond of it. I should wear it more often. I think I had... No, I didn't order another choker recently, actually. I placed another order because I got a big Twitch payout, and I was like, I want to get some cute new clothes. So I got one of those, like, mesh tops. I got one of those, like, fishnet tops. I've always wanted one of those. Now I'm finally going to have one. I'm going to sit here in my, like, fishnet long sleeve top with just, like, a bralette on and see what Twitch thinks of that. Welcome in, everybody. But yes, that thought occurred to me. That interesting thought occurred to me. The idea, right, that transgender women in particular, because let's be honest, when we're talking about TERFs, they don't even know trans men or non-binary people exist. Or if they know, I think, honestly, if they acknowledge the existence of either trans men or non-binary people, it's more than likely non-binary people, because that's more stand out, that's more bizarre to their mind. But anyway, yeah, I've noticed this discussion around, specifically with regards to the Chappelle special. I think I've seen a few people commenting things like, he's one guy, and there's thousands of us or whatever commenting on social media, arguing against his points, arguing against his jokes, saying that Netflix should pull the special or whatever. And realistically, like, it's one of those situations where quite clearly the man who has a lot of popularity and wealth and influence and a huge brand has the power in this scenario. Like, he has the opportunity to speak in front of a big audience that extends beyond the live audience, that extends to television screens around the world. And yet somehow we, the trans women affected by his bigotry, are supposed to have more power because there are more of us than there are of him. Like, he's one person, and there's more of us who are angry at his ideas. That's really not how this works. I don't understand how that's supposed... Like, how do they think we have the same level of audience as him? Trust, like, I guarantee you, and Netflix isn't going to make this deal. But if there were a trans woman comedian who wanted to... And I shouldn't use the term trans woman comedian, but it does illustrate the point. If there was a transgender woman who is a comedian who went up to Netflix and said, give me a special deal, give me the same deal you gave Dave Chappelle, that would never happen. It would simply never happen. So the concept of power there, the dynamic, like, a lot of people seem to miss this idea that there's influence involved. Dave Chappelle is someone who's been in the comedy industry for well over 20 years at this point, or about 20 years. Like, he was in the comedy industry 20 years-ish ago. And then, like, this is what's hilarious to me, and I brought this point up before, is he left his sketch show, I guess. He left the Chappelle show 20-something years ago because he realized he was facilitating racism rather than criticizing it. you know, and then he comes back and just facilitates a different kind of bigotry that doesn't affect him and his, you know. So yeah, this absurdist idea that trans women have power by virtue of what? There are a couple of notable trans women, I suppose. Like, people know Caitlyn Jenner exists. That doesn't mean trans women have power. Or trans people in general. They would never give Jordan what they gave Dave. Yeah, exactly. Precisely. You know? We do. No, I was just... It was just like it's a good little recent event to tie to this idea. Which, Mia, when I'm talking about the Dave Chappelle thing, it's a good recent event to discuss this concept around. Because when we do discuss the idea of, like, transphobes in general, having an issue with trans people, they like to criticize our ability to speak on our behalf, is the thing. And they act as though we have some kind of influential pull, because there might be influential people in powerful positions who might agree with our existence and might, like, you know, for example, Joe Biden he said some words to the effect of, you know, let's protect trans people, let's protect trans kids. But that didn't really result in a whole lot. And even then, there's still, like, while Joe Biden might have some nice words of encouragement, we stand behind you, the transgenders, that still doesn't stop the fact that there are a lot of legislators in certain states in America that are doing everything in their power to alienate and eliminate and erase trans people, right? They're not really doing a whole lot. It's not a huge priority for the American government to stop those things. I agree with our existence in such a doomer sense. It really is. It really is. By the power of Trans Skull. It's not trying to defame or literally destroy the living and tools. Yes, exactly. They would be laughed at more than anything given Netflix's response to the discourse already. Exactly. But yeah, it's not so much about Dave Chappelle in this instance. It's about this idea that trans people have some massive degree of influence because there might be a few people out there who agree with us. Or there might be a few people out there who... Oh, I just noticed. There's a flex. There you go. Yeah. Some powerful people give us nice platitudes while trans people are legislated against and fucking murdered. We really do be the ones who hold all the keys. Oh yeah, we got all the keys to the city over here. We transes got all the we got everything going for us. It's so good. It's great. It's tremendous. I tell you, when I go out in public and I have to think, you know, as I'm walking past someone on the street, or if I'm walking through the shopping center, or wherever I go in public, you know, it's so great to have this thought in my mind that, you know, someone I'm walking past might clock me and then act on that. It's a great, you know, that's a great little representation of my power there. So that I get to fear for my life because I don't know exactly how transphobic my local area might even be. Netflix has shown themselves to be assholes and transphobic. Like, were they trying to tank their reputation? Netflix has not been doing well for a while, honestly. I've noticed they've been changing their strategy with the way that they host content. Specifically, they will purchase and run specific shows for a limited run to encourage people to be like, oh, I'm interested in seeing that show. Better re-up my Netflix subscription so I can go check that out before it's off the platform. Like, you get 6 months to watch this show or whatever. And then they'll take it off and who knows where it's going to go, you know. And, of course, they've been making deals to try to bring more eyeballs in. But with the advent of things like Disney Plus and... what's Amazon's one? Amazon Prime Video and all these other different streaming services that have a wealth of different content you can check out. It's clamped down on Netflix's business model, and they've been struggling, especially since losing stuff like the Disney content. You know, Netflix used to be a haven of Disney content until Disney was like, oh, you know what? We're taking that money off you. Actually, we own that content. That's going to come over to our service instead. Fuck you. And that kind of thing would have had a huge impact on Netflix. And I think they have been maybe not hemorrhaging money, but they're not doing as well as they were before when they were the king of the streaming game. We all have the keys to intersectionality, I know that much, especially as trans POC, they see our skin color first and then everything else follows after. Racism, homophobia, transphobia, and sexism. Exactly. The constant anxiety of, do I get beaten up or murdered for being myself? It's tremendous. It's a wonderful sensation, and here's the thing, is like I want to go out soon. I'm not fully vaxxed yet, but I have my second shot in just shy of a month, like 3 weeks-ish. And I can't wait to get that second shot so then I can go out with my friends and have drinks. I want to have like go out and have cocktails night or whatever it is. And I want to go somewhere nice. I want to go to like a bar or something, not just like the club, but Queen LGBTQ plus for life. How you going, Sour? Welcome in. Like, I want to go out and I want to have fun, but I also have that thought in the back of my mind. It's like, what if someone clocks me? And what if they start shit? I already had that fear before I came out, in a different way. I had that fear that maybe I'm just afraid of people. I can't predict how someone else is going to act with regards to how I present at all. I always thought, somebody would start shit. And now that fear is elevated. Honestly, we could call that a phobia because it is an irrational anxiety. It's a way that I'm perceiving the situation without even having entered into it. But I think the perhaps rational aspect of it. So like on the surface, it's irrational. I shouldn't expect that I'm going to be hate crimed. But the rational side of it is those hate crimes do happen, and I am a part of a marginalized group that those crimes happen to. So, this will be the time to not display transphobia. It's not a good look, and it makes me feel badly for them if they go under. Makes me not feel bad. Yes, exactly. So where were we? Would we have 2 She-Ras maybe? Women all have that fear. I've already been sexually harassed on the street. I've had people wolf whistle me. I've had someone follow me to my car, which was really fucking creepy. That sticks with me. I know you've corrected yourself, Tego, but I love the fact that you're clocking me as a total city. I'm a fucking city. Exactly, it's a gamble to walk out in public. And I do it almost daily, is the thing. I go for walks around the neighborhood for about an hour at a time. Haven't had a problem yet. So I reckon, I'm probably okay, generally speaking. But I don't know. It's the middle of the day, right? Like, I go walking in the morning, in the middle of the day. Chances are unlikely I'm going to come across someone who's like drunk and belligerent and violent. Whereas if I were to try to go for my daily cardio at like 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 12 o'clock, and I've considered it. Don't get me wrong. I love the idea of going for a night walk. But I'm also fearful of that because, of course, there are people out there who are unseemly, who get around at nighttime. And GF doesn't want you to go out at night. You don't blame her. Exactly. I wouldn't blame her either. Oh. Girlfriend. Could you bring me my water bottle? Sorry. I forgot my water bottle. Oops. Buff enough to be a city for sure. Look at how white I am. Like, holy crap. I've got a pretty significant lat spread. Like, oh, look at that. Oh my goodness. Oh, and Draco redeemed hugs. I'm going to have to wait a second. She's refilling my water bottle now. Get dirty looks, but that's because you're male presenting wearing women's clothes. Which, yeah, that's another thing. That's the unfortunate result of all of this, honestly. Well, it's not the result of all this. It's the result of a constantly socially embedded perception of people who present differently than the norm. You want some hugs? But, oh, okay. Okay, hang on. I still get hugs, but off screen. I look great, you damn right I do. And they were roommates, yeah. We're roommates. We're roomies. Ironic that Maddie gives me water given she's the one that makes me thirsty. Absolutely right. Oh god, I hate my smile when I laugh. Fuck, why do you people say things about... Oh, duh. She has a legal obligation to say she loves my smile. But she's not only saying it for that reason. They were roommates? Oh my god, they were roommates? I'm glad you love my smile. I hope I can provide some... I hope I can bring you smiles with my smile, even if I hate it. You know. Anyways. Should we do some news? Should we do some... What else could we discuss? What's another thought we can have? 5150 followers. Isn't that a Van Halen thing? What's the number 5150? That's familiar, but I've got 5,150 followers at the moment. What's that number related to? Does anyone know? It's just gone up again, but you know. Because I'm such a good streamer that I just casually get followers and I don't acknowledge them because I'm such an asshole. Basically. It's not good. It's not good. Yeah, I know it's a... What's this about a wizard? We'll talk about the wizard in a second. Refers to the California law code for the temporary involuntary psychiatric commitment of individuals who present a danger to themselves or others due to signs of mental illness. That's something, I guess. But yeah, my first thought is the album by Van Halen, 5150, released March 24, 1986. The only reason I know that album exists is because my friend is a huge Van Halen fan. Massive. Hey, Goth Boy, I'm glad you like my smile. Am I going to talk about you? Am I? I don't know. What's this about a wizard? Alright, let's do some news. Let's do 2 bits of news. We'll do 1 bit of news first. But this is an interesting one. This was actually a few days ago. I only found out because Lily Simpson tweeted about it. New Zealand Council ends contract with Wizard after 2 decades of service. This is real news on The Guardian. For the record, this is not a piss take. She's playing Celeste. Anyway, Ian Brackenbury Channel was paid $16,000 a year to provide acts of wizardry for the city of Christchurch. The official wizard of New Zealand, and perhaps the only state-appointed wizard in the world, has been cast from the public payroll, spelling the end to a 23-year legacy. The wizard, whose real name is Ian Brackenbury Channel, 88, had been contracted to Christchurch City Council for the past 2 decades to promote the city through acts of wizardry and other wizard-like services. Why did he get sacked? Oh, we're going to find out. The wizard, who was born in England, began performing acts of wizardry and entertainment in public spaces shortly after arriving in New Zealand in 1976. When the council originally tried to stop him, the public protested. In 1982, the New Zealand Art Gallery Directors Association said he had become a living work of art, and then in 1990, the Prime Minister at the time, Mike Moore, asked that he consider becoming the Wizard of New Zealand. I am concerned that your wizardry is not at the disposal of the entire nation, Moore wrote on his official letterhead. Please don't be necromancy. I suggest, therefore, that you should urgently consider my suggestion you become Wizard of New Zealand, Antarctica, and relevant offshore areas. No doubt there will be implications in the area of spells, blessings, and curses, and other supernatural matters that are beyond the competence of mere prime ministers. Please don't be necromancy. Why did they use that specific pic of me? God, he's tall, or is he standing on something? Anyway. Since then, he has performed in Christchurch, rain danced in New Zealand and Australia during droughts, and was awarded the Queen's Service Medal in the 2009 Queen's Birthday Honours. He's not tall, he's levitating. But he has also encountered controversy with off-colour comments about women. Gonna go out on a limb and say that the wizard being cancelled after 23 years is fine. In an April screening of Channel 3's comedy current affairs show New Zealand Today, hosted by Guy Williams, the wizard said he liked to tease women by telling them they were devious and said they use cunning to get men who are thick. I love women, I forgive them all the time, I've never struck one yet, never strike a woman because they bruise too easily is the first thing. And they'll tell the neighbours and their friends and then you're in big trouble. The council said it had sent the wizard a letter thanking him for his services to Christchurch over the past decades and informing him they were closing the book on his contract, a council spokesperson, Lynn McClelland, said. McClelland added that it was a difficult decision, but the wizard would forever be a part of Christchurch's history. Yeah, it's one of those situations. Oh, God. The city is embarking on new tourism and promotional direction that will reflect its diverse communities and showcase a vibrant, diverse, modern city that is attractive to residents, domestic and international visitors, new businesses, and skilled migrant workers, she said. The wizard said the council had decided to stop paying him because he did not fit the vibes of the city. He said he was a provocateur. It implies that I am boring and old. I mean, you're 88, dude. But there is nobody else anything like me in Christchurch. Why does every spiritual / religious leader love abuse? Oh, there's a lot to unpack there, trust me. That's a pretty common thing, not gonna lie. I should really get rid of my... How do I remove my bookmarks toolbar? No, yeah, oh, it doesn't work. Okay, whatever. Anyway, we're talking about the Wizard of New Zealand and how he lost his job. Anyway, it's just... Yeah, we already read that. The Wizard is a well-known face to Christchurch residents, but in recent years his presence has diminished and sightings have become rare. Control-Shift-B. Thank you. I'm so sick of that because I keep accidentally clicking on shit. I don't want to open new pages. Anyway, thank you. He says that it is because the council has made him invisible and would not respond to his suggestions to improve tourism. The Wizard is Christchurch. I'm glad he will still be around, but gosh, how out of touch are the CCC if you think he doesn't fit into Christchurch's image. He always has and always will. I mean, let's just come back here to love women. I've never struck one. Never strike a woman because they bruise too easily and they'll tell their neighbors and friends and then you're in big trouble. I think Christchurch can do without the Wizard. Anyway, but when they cancelled this honorarium, everyone got furious. They have awakened a hornet's nest here. It's hilarious. The next few months are going to be real fun. The Wizard said he would keep up his regular appearance at Christchurch's art centre, chatting to tourists and locals. The centre is hosting an exhibition of his life this month, which is supported by the council. When asked if he would curse the council over its decision, he said he preferred to give blessings. I give children happy dreams, general good health, and I want to make bureaucrats become more human. And there we go. Become more human by... arguing the very feminist viewpoint of don't strike women because they'll tell their friends. Anyway, there's that. I just thought that was amusing. Yeah. New Zealand had a wizard, and it turns out he's a misogynist, and they didn't want to keep him on board anymore. Gandic the Grey's got his work cut out for him. Anyway, did we talk about the French Catholic Church? I don't think we did. I don't know, Clara. Does anyone remember? What was the story about the French Catholic Church? What happened? I can't think of anything, yeah. You know, he's saying down the pub, I was the Wizard of New Zealand until that bloody cancel culture. Oh, fuck. But the Pope is so leftist and based, how can anyone be mad at the Catholic Church? Aside from his comments on transness, we can agree with the fact that, the Pope did say some pretty based things in that recent Vatican speech, but still, I don't know, what has the Pope said with regards to trans people? Oh, yeah. Well, let's have a look at what HRC has to say about the Pope. 7 quotes that make Pope Francis complicated for LGBTQ plus people. Pope Francis appears more popular than ever. He has charted his own course in style, words, and philosophy and enjoys favorability among 90% of Catholics, 74% of white mainline Protestants, 68% of unaffiliated, and 60% of white evangelicals. I like how they have to specify white in this article. Like, okay. Francis's tenure as Pope has also been notable by the LGBTQ community for his adoption of a more conciliatory tone towards queer people than that of his predecessors. But anyone who utters Christian words without putting them into practice hurts oneself and others, said Pope Francis in 2013. So where does he stand on queer people? On inclusion, if they accept the Lord and have goodwill, who am I to judge them? Let's start off with one of the most decisive moments of Francis' papacy for queer people. When asked about gay priests during a spontaneous exchange with the press, he responded, if they accept the Lord and have goodwill, who am I to judge them? They shouldn't be marginalized. The tendency is not the problem, they are our brothers. There's someone in your school who is a trans medicalist. I'm not saying punch them, but I'm also not saying don't. I'm going to just let you make a judgment call there. Anyway, the fact that Pope Francis made such a comment and used the word gay in English was radical and helped propel significant conversations in parishes and dioceses on queer equality to this day. Sorry, if I'm not going to say the whole acronym or whatever it is, I'm just going to say queer. If you don't like it, suck my girl dick. Anyway, but more importantly, his comments set the tone and approach to talking about queer issues outside of the liberal conservative axis. I prefer one syllable to 5. Anyway. In 2015, he says, sometimes it happens that you feel disappointed, discouraged, and abandoned by all, but God does not forget his children. He never abandons them. He is always at our side, especially in trying times. Pope Francis joined 90 prison inmates for lunch during his visit to Naples, including 10 from the ward, which houses those who are gay, trans, or have HIV and AIDS. Pope Francis's willingness to include gay, trans, and HIV plus prisoners in his luncheon and allow an LGBTQ plus advocacy group. I just fucking whatever. I'll say whatever I read. I don't know. On the parade route, but not mentioning either of them in his talks shows the complicated approach he is taking to queer issues. I ask you to pray fervently for this intention, the Pope continued, so that Christ can take even what might seem to us impure, scandalous, or threatening, turn into a miracle. I can't see anything specifically on transness. On gender identity, here we go. Let's think of the nuclear arms, of the possibility to annihilate, in a few instances, a very high number of human beings. Let's also think of genetic manipulation, of the manipulation of life, or of the gender theory that does not recognize the order of creation. Okay, here we go. In Andrea Tornielli and Giacomo Galeazzi's new book, Pope Francis, This Economy Kills, Francis condemns gender theory, comparing it to nuclear war and genetic manipulation. That's a bit of a reach. His analogy stems from the Church's understanding of the gender spectrum within the restrictive duality of man and woman, rejecting the disconnection of gender identity and gender expression from biology. In reality, the pontiff's view, grounded in the biblical story of Adam and Eve, ignores the existence and experiences of millions of transgender and gender-variant individuals who do not fit the strict duality. And doing so would be a gross caricature of human history that has provided space for the biblical Ethiopian eunuch and other gender-variant people throughout the centuries. Francis's remarks on gender theory in the book follow similar remarks he made in a press conference on the papal plane in January, in which he criticized what he called ideological colonization. That's rich, coming from the fucking Pope. Colonization of less developed countries by those with more resources. Okay, I think I might have known about that previously, but it slipped to my mind. That's quite familiar for some reason, but anyway. Sucking dick isn't much of a punishment. Don't think leaders of huge religions will ever be truly progressive, only so much they'll bend society so much as to not lose power. Well, yeah, exactly. This is the very issue with... By the way, Clara, thank you so kindly for the article on the French clergy. We'll take a look at that in a moment. We're just skewing into religious chats tonight, I guess. And I don't mind. We can talk about religion. I've got many thoughts. But anyway. Let me come back a bit. So, yeah... I think it's pretty much the role of any major leader to effectively, like, it's a very conflicting position, because if you are in a prominent leadership role, no matter what it is, whether you're a politician or whether you're a company leader or a religious leader or any of those kind of things, ultimately, however you decide to run things, you need to do so in such a way that the people who are following you still broadly agree with you being in that position. Because if you don't keep the serfs happy, you know, it can... I mean, this is the thing, is like, we're not talking revolution here. We're not talking like that far, because obviously, like, I've been around people who work for companies they hate, but they don't hate them enough that they're willing to, you know, rise up with their torches and pitchforks, that kind of thing. But I suppose, realistically speaking, you know, even if every Catholic in the world disagreed with the current Pope, they can't really force him out either. Where were we? So let's come back. You won't punch a trans med, but you will laugh a lot if they walk into someone's fist. Yeah, Trump was impeached twice. Why did that never go anywhere? Wait, I know. Never mind. Loaded courts. Anyway. Where were we? Comparing it to nuclear power, but in a good way. A book about capitalism bad turned into transphobia. Fuck him, honestly. God made Adam as an androgyne first, then Adam became a man when God removed the femininity from him to create Eve. Yeah. And I mean, realistically speaking, there's a lot of people, like, if we come back to this for a moment, there are many people out there who take the stance that gender is either A, not a real thing, or B, it's biology. Like, they have this stance of either gender theory is false, and it's just some ideological, what's the term I'm looking for here? Some like ideological bias in academia that has facilitated the rising theory of gender, or some people have the thought process that gender is biological, and both of those ideas stem from this. Both of these ideas stem from religious concepts. They're not, I mean, if we go back through scientific history, this is the thing. The people who are citing that kind of gender binary concept or that sex binary concept are doing so from the perspective of outdated scientific information. And this is the thing with science, right? Is that, yes, realistically speaking, if you wiped out all the science tomorrow, eventually, given enough time, the monkeys at typewriters problem, all of the science would be rediscovered. But the thing is, science is a slow and gradual process of discovering new information. So we have been discovering new information with regards to gender for a while now. We're, getting more of an understanding of it in Western society, generally speaking. And all of that very strict, rigid binary ideology stems from the Bible. Or stems from concepts relating to the Bible. Such ideas may have existed before the current biblical colonial interpretation of what gender is, or sex. Because we've mentioned before, the reason that this conversation is so hard to have is because for a long time sex and gender were explicitly interwoven. You were male or female, you were man or woman, and that was directly tied to what parts you had. Lilith is better than Eve anyway, absolutely. Also, all the Abrahamic religions are so patriarchal, it makes you sad to see religious women. Honestly, that could apply to numerous other facets, like the people who are... What's another example? Conservative women. By this, what the fuck did Zero just shout off screen? Slut. She's playing Celeste. Gender is not a real thing unless you agree with my views and adhere to my batshit theories, basically. And there was a good discussion point brought up on Twitter earlier today by Cat Black, who I know has been a bit of a controversial figure in trans discourse recently because she made her whole thread about periods, which was a bit of an iffy subject. I think generally speaking, Cat Black has got some good ideas, and this one was one of them, talking about the idea of bigotries and how they, rather quoting somebody and continuing the conversation about bigotries. And a few years ago, like 10 years ago, 15 years ago, I noticed a very specific condemnation, or like however long ago it was, that being gay was the front-facing moral panic with regards to queerness. Just being gay, right? Not even considering transness in the discussion. It was about gay people. And the majority of the arguments against were primarily focused on two things, that being the family and also, so the family, we know what they mean when they say the family, and the religious origin of, the main argument against being gay was, it says in the Bible that it's wrong. And the problem with that is that it doesn't matter if the Bible says it's wrong if there are secular people. You can't use that as an argument to, break down the rights of other people. If there are so many people out there who don't agree with the Bible, and this is the thing, there were quite a few people who did agree with that concept and still do. The Bible says being gay is wrong, which is a gross misinterpretation of what the biblical texts actually state. And it's important to keep in mind that Abrahamic religions and their texts have been edited and translated over thousands of years, like 2,000 years. So you can't take those things seriously. They have been edited by biased people as products of their time. But yeah, they realized eventually at some point that they couldn't keep relying on the Bible and religious texts and all of those ideas to continue harping on about, to continue harping on their queerphobic moral panics, and they needed to find something that's a little bit more modern, a little bit more relevant to skew more people's perception against queer folks. So now when we're talking about trans people, a lot of the argument has shifted towards this idea of biology says there's only two sexes or two genders. There's only two genders. It's biology, right? But of course, what they might have been taught in primary school back in the 1970s, because TERFs are fucking old, that information is woefully outdated, and again, informed by scientists who are probably operating on confirmation bias, right? So, and of course, again, science, like the thing with the Bible and the thing with any sort of religion, really, is those can be a system of tenets that can be concrete and unchanging, right? And the thing is, you can make a religion tomorrow. You could just write a religion if you want. It's one of the best ways to make money. You just start a religion. You start recruiting people into your religion. Get them to pay you money. I might do it. L. Ron Hubbard did it. Look where Scientology is now. Right? So you can set out a set of strictures according to whatever religion you come up with. And you can use that as the basis for any argument you want to be involved in. Oh, my religion says this. But with science, there are scientists all over the world studying all different fields and all of that and uncovering new information all the time. And that goes into the broad scientific body of work. So scientific information about transness 20 years ago is incomparable to what it is today. Our understanding of what being trans is today is different to what it was 20 years ago. We've gained new information. We've gained new knowledge, you know. So wait, Jezun Cola, I did notice you comment on this earlier. I want to come back to your previous message because you, let me have a look here. I want to see your previous message first. Gender theory in Italy is different from how it's perceived otherwise. Gender is seen as an enemy, something that taints the mind of children. Most bigots don't even know what gender means. Seen as the gay agenda to change all people into gays. Italy is so far back in the discourse that trans people are not considered and lumped into the gay. Well, I mean, yeah, honestly, what you've said there still applies to what's happening over in America and the UK. Those are the two main examples I'm going to use because I'm primarily clued into trans discourse in the UK and the US, which is where it seems like the majority of the significant legislative transphobia is happening. And at the very least, I saw a thread in on the UK situation where, fortunately, you could look at it from a perspective of optimism. The transphobes versus trans rights discussion in the UK has ground to a standstill. Basically, like they're at a halt. They can't really make any progress one way or the other, which means it can't really get technically worse for trans people. It's not great. But it also means they could start pushing back in the other direction. You know, Dudism and Jediism became legit religions in Australia because enough people put them down in the census. Exactly. But yeah, Jason, like the whole idea there about, you know, gender theory and all that being part of the gay agenda and all those kind of things. It's like, yeah, like if it gets lumped in, that is still kind of the same thing that is happening there. By the way, there's a flex for you. I'm mostly flexing my lats at this point. Anyway, ignore me. Or don't ignore me. Tell your friends to come watch my stream so my viewer count goes up. Go tell your friends to... Oh, don't punch my microphone. Go tell your friends to like and subscribe and all that shit.
The Rogue Room appreciates your recommendation.
Thank you, Wassa. What friends? I don't know anyone. Just go become very famous on the Bird app and start spamming hashtags with my link. I don't know. When the Holy One, blessed be He, created the first man, He created him androgynous. The removal of the feminine into another form symbolizes the beginning of the fall from perfection into duality. There we go. Andro/intersex gods are not uncommon in the world of myth. Exactly. Androgyny is perfection. There we go. Thank you for the host, Wassa. There's a friggin' hypno-drone cult that scares the hell out of me. They specifically target marginalized and mentally ill disabled people to recruit. Oh, that's awful. Hypno-drone cult. Goodness. That does not sound very reassuring. Anyway. So yeah, let's... Divine beings follow the gender binary. Loki clears his throat. It's a weird thing, honestly. It reminds me of the argument, the appeal to tradition or the appeal to primal nature. The same thing when people appeal to biblical texts or mythologies or how things used to be like 500 years ago. I think somebody used this on me recently. Didn't I post about this on Twitter? I think I did. I might have deleted it. I don't remember if I deleted it or if I kept it up. But there was a post somebody made. I might have deleted it. I'm not certain. But basically, somebody made the argument against me in my YouTube comments, if I'm not mistaken, or something else. About like, oh, if you were a hunter-gatherer in caveman times, you wouldn't last a day. And it's like, I'm not. You can't use a completely different time period as an argument for things that are happening now. Like, you can't use a completely different detachment from modern society as an argument. And you can't use mythical texts and biblical texts to argue against, and regrettably these things still happen because a lot of people are religious, so we can't really escape that. But, you know, whenever people call back to caveman times to justify their point, they always make shit up anyway. Yeah, exactly, they don't have a point. That whenever you see somebody make that kind of argument, that's an admission of defeat. Whenever it comes down to like the, oh, you're so offended, stop being so offended, you wouldn't survive in hunter-gatherer times, just say to them, so you're admitting you've lost the argument. Pardon? I dare someone to fucking step to me. Come on. I'll bash your skull in. I would survive in caveman times because I'm fucking swole, okay? Anyway. Wrestle a saber-toothed tiger with my bare hands. Let's do it, bitch. If you were a hunter-gatherer, you wouldn't be able to write stupid YouTube comments. Heck. Is there a reason there's a but in that sentence? Shouldn't be necessary unless something in the religion is hostile to them. Which sentence? Hang on. Oh, hang on, I see. So you've tinkered with crafting religion in the space of that fantasy world you put together over the years. The primary nation and race worship a draconic deity, and they're generally devout but welcoming of queer folks. Well, yeah, I mean, I suppose if you frame it in the way that most religions in that universe, or other religions in that universe, are not welcoming of queer folks, then the but is necessitated, I suppose. Non-binary folks are actually preferred for clergy, as their deity is essentially genderless, so they see enemies as being closer to the divine than typical binary person. It's also rather interesting when non-binary races, I suppose, cultures and things like that are portrayed in fiction. They're always seen as this alien, genderless entity that couldn't exist normally. It's actually kind of bizarre in a lot of ways that, you know, we know that gender is a very strict Western construct. It's a very strict colonial construct designed to put people into boxes. And yet when we indulge in fantasy video games, for example, World of Warcraft springs to mind. There are, well, yeah, Harthians from Outer Wilds are a good example of breaking the mold that I'm about to talk about. Yeah, but in Outer Wilds, the Harthians are genderless, basically. They refer to each other as they. They don't have like he or him, she or her, you know, that kind of stuff. But, you know, playing World of Warcraft, there's literally an alien race from another planet, and yet they have the very strict male-female gender binary. And, of course, the reason for that is when we're playing fantasy media, that fantasy media is still generally rooted in real-world ideas, no matter what way you try to swing it. I've played a bunch of games, and I've watched a bunch of shows and movies and stuff like that, where we're introduced to this weird, bizarre alien race or some other culture or whatever that's supposed to be so distinct from humans, and yet they emulate a lot of the behaviors that humans do. Like, they don't really break any of the traditional things we've come to understand about humanity, which is an odd thing. How are the gamers not... How are the gamers going to cope if they can't fuck the hot alien chicks, basically? Yes. Aphrodite and Hermaphrodite? Or Aphrodite and Hermaphrodite, I suppose. Also, the people who managed to survive long enough had a lot of help from other people. Even the cavemen wouldn't survive. They survived long enough to fuck into more survival. Pretty much, yes, exactly. And then eventually they developed ways to defend themselves en masse. Like that. This is honestly, if you refer back to cavemen as an argument, you should probably be a communist or a socialist in some capacity. But the majority of the people who use the caveman argument are capitalists. They're people who lean so heavily into this idea of you should just get thick skin if you can't blend in with capitalist society norms. It's like you wouldn't last in caveman society yourself because you can't cooperate with people. They'd leave you to die if you're such a selfish cunt. You know. If you refer back to cavemen, you should at least know how to make a fire. Exactly. Please, not anarcho-primitivists. Cavemen would have died to a foot sprain. Now people break their ribs and go, I'll just walk it off. The but is because a lot of religions are not welcoming. Sadly, most Romance languages, Spanish included, are gendered, which caused a lot of text and media to get polarized. Exactly. How are gamers going to cope if they can't fuck the hot aliens? Me, side-eyes, Mass Effect. Really, though. They had a whole alien race of hot women. Anyway. Western gender theory did create femboys, so there's that. Had a really stupid thought that's completely off topic, but I need to share. Psychiatrists are literally the thought police. You're not wrong. Monkey? Return to Monkey. George R. R. Martin had an interesting race of aliens in one of his short story collections, if I recall correctly. Genderless, reproduced by budding, intelligent, but not emotive. That's interesting. What if I'm anarcho-Christian primitivist? So plant Spock. That faith sees someone who's non-binary as being closer to their divine creator than more run-of-the-mill folks. They have no issue with queer folks, and in fact will put gay couples at the head of the list for people to adopt children who lose their parents, because hetero couples are expected to produce their own kids. It's understandable. Psychiatrists, therapists, doctors, etc. hold authority and can propagate discrimination against the marginalized in their work, but I'm glad to have found a good trans therapist you can talk to. Well, yeah, you're not wrong there, actually. When I say can, I mean do. And do propagate discrimination. Well, yeah, exactly. Like, as much as we like to... This is one of the issues that we have with appealing to authority, right? There are so many people who appeal to authority. There are people who are like, oh, blue lives matter, and they'll think that, you know, their favorite politicians know what's best for the country by some weird metric. You know, people will literally stan politicians. And this can also come back to doctors as well. It's important to realize that doctors are not infallible. Doctors do not have all the answers to all the questions. And in a lot of ways, you know, in a lot of circumstances, there are some doctors who've literally done 1 2-hour lecture, who like have sat in on 1 2-hour lecture on a certain thing, on a certain medical condition, might even be with regards to trans treatment. And they might have not, they might be aware of the information that's readily available, or they might be aware of like whatever science was available at the time they went to medical school, but you can't deny the fact that they are still humans and they are still susceptible to their own biases. So as a result, I hear plenty of stories of people who are trans going to their GP, for example, and getting referred to therapy in the hopes that it would cure the transness or what have you, or dismissing the idea entirely. Mia's video on psychiatry, we could probably watch this. It's 48 minutes. I think I do want to watch this, maybe on my own time though. Daily reminder that all cats are beautiful. Thank you for reminding me. I'm glad, because I didn't want to forget that one. Actually, what's on my watch later list? I wonder if there's anything we can react to tonight. Do I have anything that we can react to tonight? There's a bunch of things here. Removed. Why have I got so many? There's so many videos here. Like, why do I have all these in here? I don't know what's going on. Oh, whatever. I'll clean that up later. Doubt Smudge would let me forget. He would not. He really would not. We could talk more about transmedicalism if you want to. Because that is in the title. I don't know. Had to abandon a previous therapist because you heard in a podcast she was blaming women for being sexually harassed at work. Jesus. What is the reasoning? I genuinely want to know if it was outlined in the podcast. What was the reasoning? Whatever is the reasoning for victim blaming women who are harassed in the workplace? What is the reasoning? Because you think about this, you distill this down to what it is. There should be none. Other than, of course, let me think. Other than the fact that sexually harassing women is encouraged, generally speaking. Like, we still have largely on the part of men targeting women. There is still a lot of this hyper-masculine attitude that men have to pursue women relentlessly and get them to submit, basically. Like I've heard so many stories which come across really creepy when you hear them in hindsight, of men who are just like, I really liked this girl, but she wouldn't say yes to me at first, but I kept pushing for it until she said yes. And then, like, you find out they've been married for 22 years or something, and it's like, is this actually a two-way street? Do they actually like each other, or is this some kind of entrapment scenario? She was like, women share some of the blame, and it takes two to tango. Like, it was fucked up to hear that from a female therapist from Gender GP. How does the woman share some of the blame when she's being targeted for harassment? What exactly kind of... Like, that's such a ludicrous notion. It is an evil tactic, it is. Maybe it was dressing too slutty or something. Don't quote me on that, yeah. Dad treats trans issues based on his experience working security in a psychiatric center in the 80s and 90s. Yikes. And yeah, the reasoning is always obviously that victim blaming is easier than addressing societal problems. You know, a lot of people don't want to admit the fact that there is a very serious issue with people encouraging these kinds of... I think one of the major concerns is that in order to stem the tide of sexual harassment and the further steps from sexual harassment, one needs to realize that it needs to be a socially conscious action to stem the tide of it, to actually confront people who are likely to commit those offenses and say that's not okay, and to actually foster education on the matter, to foster understanding on the matter. And unfortunately, the way things are structured right now, there are so many different trains of thought regarding this that, like with any major issue, you're not going to reach a consensus, even if we morally know that men harassing women, which is, you know, broadly the issue we're talking about, as it stands right now. You know, we look at that and we're aware of the fact that it's a bad thing. We know it's a bad thing, unequivocally. But, like I mentioned before, there are still so many people who hold this attitude that men should be the ones pursuing women, and women should be demure and whatever, like they should be reserved and all those kinds of things. So you mix that up and you have like you have a society of so many different attitudes towards the way someone, like one family has the attitude, men should pursue women and women should be shy and reserved and all that kind of thing, and should say, like, they should say no, but the man should push past that no. Like, a no isn't actually a no. That attitude is still so prevalent. I'm glad you were privileged enough to go private and find a therapist who's also trans like me. And thank you, forlorn, chaste. That's the word I'm looking for. Anyway. Hate that men are given the advice to be persistent. The answer is to be present. If someone's going to grow fond of you at all, you shouldn't have to pressure them for it to happen. Exactly. Yes. I think when a lot of people say that sentiment, they mean it like in the sense of if you're walking in a bad neighborhood and you aren't paying attention to your surroundings, you could get mugged or jumped. And in that situation, obviously the thief is the bad guy, but at the same time, people ask, why were you there and not paying attention to your surroundings? I think more in-depth teaching of consent, as well as people being taught more often, should be prioritized, especially when it comes to keeping people safe. Exactly. Where were we? Let me come back. You have seen people say no but want to keep the other pursuing. That needs to be a discussion of consent among, well, consenting adults. You know, what goes on in the rogue room? Lots of things. We like to chat, Fabs. Is this the same as a red room? Probably not. It's purple. Yeah, men should be the pursuer. Fuck you, what if I want a girl to pursue me? That's another thing. Men who are seen as... Men who consider themselves chaste, men who want to be pursued, are often treated as less masculine by society. And as a result, because of broader social attitudes, you know, we've all seen this kind of concept floating around of a girl who is the pursuer is seen as unusual and the man who wants to be pursued is seen as unusual. The general social attitude is that, you know, men should be pursuing women, and that's still pervasive even today, which is... Or men who try to fix lesbians. Ugh. Gross. But yes. A big issue you've had is you've been very guarded, and the only people who try to get close to me are people who want to violate my boundaries, which exclude them, biasing my experience with others. So now I'm getting more comfortable, slowly approaching people I'm interested in and letting a friendship or whatever blossom with mutual consent and making sure neither party feels pressure to do anything they don't want to do. It's understandable. Less stripy floors and mystical little people, more buff goth mummies. Yes, us. Also trying to learn to be a lot more upfront and firm with your boundaries. You hate when guys hit on me and try to tell me straight. It's such a disrespectful waste of time indeed. I have not had that happen yet, fortunately. It's not even a chase thing. I want a cute girl to hit me up to initiate the conversations and ask me out and all that, but also respect me and what masculinity I have. I understand that, but yeah, general social consensus broadly dictates that's unlikely to happen. If we go back to the thing of girls who are the more aggressive ones in this scenario, girls who are the ones who are doing the pursuing themselves, it's a very, very, very unlikely scenario to occur. You know, that kind of thing that crops up in certain movies where the male protagonist is more shy and nerdy, and the girl that he ends up with is much more outgoing. You know, that's not really a thing that often occurs. At the very least, there needs to be some open lines of communication before that relationship can even begin. You know, it can happen, but usually in those movies she tries to kill him. I mean, but you know, at the very least there needs to be that boundary broken of knowing one another, and often to the extent of being friends at the very least. You know. Easy to blame a victim for becoming a victim than it is to fix the problem that victimizes them. Yes, quite literally. This is why we see such ridiculous justifications. If a woman is killed for wearing sexy attire, or if she's raped for whatever it is, there's always some ludicrous justification. And my favorite response to that, unfortunately, comes from victims who will say stuff like, I was wearing a t-shirt and jeans when I was assaulted. You know, there's always some excuse to dance around the reality of the scenario. You know, just because there are bad actors out there who are acting based on their perception of reality, who are committing bad acts, doesn't mean the victim needs to take any blame for that. If I'm out there minding my own business and I get assaulted, none of that blame can fall on me. Okay? It's quite literally a red room after stream. In Missouri, it is illegal to drive down the highway with an uncaged bear in your car. How is this ever a problem, and who are these weird pro-uncaged bears in cars people? I would be pro-uncaged bears in cars, honestly. Red lights? What's hang on. What was that about red lights? About a red room? Telling me you have to put your boyfriend in a cage? Regrettably, you're gonna have to. Anyways. Pardon? What? You do know or you don't know? Oh, okay. Red equals left wing. Yeah, we're going to switch back to our bisexual lighting so everyone knows this is a gay as fuck stream. Anyway. Yeah, suggest a Google of Twin Peaks or Black Widow. Oh, okay. I've been meaning to watch Twin Peaks. I've heard it's okay. And just like that, Abby is Amsterdam. It's weird if I wear my nice dress out. I get a lot of comments from older women complimenting me on my dress, which is nice but unexpected. They're much less threatening. That's understandable. That's fair. That does lead into the idea of that there's often an ongoing conversation about unsolicited remarks towards someone's appearance, whether positive or negative. You know, like this is the thing. Like there is a generally accepted social etiquette of saying things like, "Oh, you look nice tonight," or what have you. But I think, you know, the conversation becomes a little bit more complex when people start making very specific commentary on your appearance, which can become uncomfortable depending on the person receiving the comments. Joke's on you, I'm gay, I'm pan, I'm gay for everyone. Twin Peaks is decent if you like artsy stuff. Well, I don't know if I do or not, because I haven't watched enough stuff. Anyway. Where were we? So, it's okay if he said he's into that. Yeah, you can keep your boyfriend in a cage if he's okay with it. It's fine. You know? If he likes it, go ahead. Had a bunch of drunken lads shout nice dress at me when I was walking home a bit drunk myself, which was more scary. Precisely, yes. That would be a much more terrifying situation. And that's... Honestly, that's one of the behaviors I've observed in the few times I have been out late at night with friends, is that there are legitimately, and this is part of the problem, men who will make those remarks loudly and proudly at women who did not ask for them, specifically to throw them off, specifically to get that woman uncomfortable, because she's already in the position of, I'm out late at night, might be walking home or to the bus station alone. It's already an unsafe situation. And then, you know, you've got some strange man who is making that kind of remark, more than likely willfully trying to stir her up and, you know, sow discord. So even if it's not even if nothing comes of it, it's still an attempt to invade that person's personal space. Telling me my gender is what's in my pants now. I'm chastity cage gendered. Fuck. They all laughed when I said thanks, so I'm not sure what that means. Yeah. It's the same as wolf whistling, basically, but perhaps a bit more extreme because it is a more uncomfortable situation. Now, this article is almost... Oh, actually, on the subject. Let's cover this first, and then we'll come back to the French report thing. What's your gender? Cage gendered. Women escaping domestic violence can now access $5,000 federal payments. The escaping violence payment, which became available on Tuesday, comes as many states and territories have reported jumps in the number of domestic violence cases during COVID-19 lockdowns. Pretty horrible thing, but I figure we should cover this. Like, domestic violence is a pretty horrible thing. Not giving payments to domestic violence victims. That's a good thing, unequivocally. This article contains references to domestic violence. Gee, you don't fucking say. Women and children leaving a violent relationship now have access to a one-off payment of up to $5,000 under a new trial scheme. Will include up to $1,500 in cash, with the remainder of the money available for goods and services or direct payment of bonds, school fees, or other essential items to help establish a safe home. The escaping violence payment was announced in the May budget as part of a $1.1 billion women's safety package of programs. 1 in 6 women experiences partner violence in Australia, compared to 1 in 17 men, according to the Australian Bureau of Statistics. 1 in 6 women and 1 in 10 men also experience abuse before the age of 15. Excuse me. The payment is not considered taxable or reportable income and will not impact any other Social Security payments a recipient may be getting. Eligibility includes financial stress and evidence of domestic violence, which includes but is not limited to a referral from a family and domestic violence service provider with a risk assessment and safety plan, an AVO, court order, or police report. Minister for Women's Safety Anne Ruston said the payments will help address the financial barriers that may stop women leaving violent relationships. We know that financial hardship as well as economic abuse, which may involve interfering with work or controlling or withholding money, reduces women's ability to acquire and use money and makes it difficult to leave violent relationships, she said in a statement on Sunday. The payments will assist those who need financial support to leave. We know the size of the house a woman is fleeing doesn't matter. Often she bundles the kids into the car, maybe the dog too, and they leave with nothing more than the clothes on their backs. Excuse me. Uniting Care Australia National Director Clairwyn Little said the payment will help women to access some of the essentials needed to create a safe home for themselves and their children. The Uniting Care Network has extensive experience supporting victim survivors of domestic, family, and sexual violence, and staff would leverage that knowledge to provide a wraparound service for women and their children, Ms. Little said. We believe that all people, especially women and their children, have the right to live freely and without fear, and this payment is an important step forward to ending violence against women and their children. The 2-year trial will be independently evaluated to assess the benefit of the payment, including demand, eligibility criteria, needs of specific cohorts, and how it works with related services. It comes days after a pregnant mother of 2, Michelle Darrow, 32, was found dead inside a suburban Melbourne home with her former partner taken to hospital under police guard. Earlier this month, another pregnant woman, Janet Dway, a 36-year-old refugee from Liberia, was found dead inside her home in Perth's northern suburbs. The Red Heart campaign, which tracks every known Australian woman and child killed as a result of murder, manslaughter or neglect, estimates 42 women have allegedly been killed due to violence in Australia this year. You alright? Is it the game? Sorry. Coming back to this, sorry folks. Across Australia, many states and territories have reported large increases in the number of domestic violence cases during COVID-19 lockdowns, which honestly does not shock me, sadly. Women's rights activists expect calls for help to rise as restrictions ease in New South Wales and Victoria, allowing the removal of barriers that prevent women seeking help. And then for more information on how to apply, click here. There we go. That's a good thing. That's a good thing. Thought that was relevant to bring up, you know. Where are we? You escaped domestic violence 5 months ago and struggled to pay bond and rent in advance, and they do this now. Friggin' Murphy's Law. I doubt you'd still be eligible for it, but you could look into it. Since you got on estrogen, you can no longer fit into those, or at least the ones you have allegedly in Minecraft. Oh gosh. Well, there we go. Let's get rid of that story. So where were you? So yeah, we already did that one. I already read that comment. So anyway. How are you folks dealing with that particular topic? We've got another heavy topic here that we could address, which comes back around to our church discussion earlier. You know. Which is, this is actually a 2-week-old article, but we'll cover it anyway. I think I heard something about this. French report, 330,000 children victims of church sex abuse. We're on a roll tonight with the traumatic news stories. Paris, victims of abuse within France's Catholic Church welcomed a historic turning point Tuesday after a new report estimated that 330,000 children in France were sexually abused over the past 70 years, providing the country's first accounting of the worldwide phenomenon. That's a disturbing phrase right there. The worldwide phenomenon. I'm used to seeing the phrase phenomenon referring to like Aurora Borealis or like fucking pop bands. The worldwide phenomenon of child abuse is a little bit more. Anyway, I know it's the right wording, but anyway. Yeah, I'm not gonna read certain comments. You can talk amongst yourselves. I don't know. The figure includes abuses committed by some 3,000 priests and an unknown number of other people involved in the church, wrongdoing that Catholic authorities covered up over decades in a systemic manner. Excuse me. According to the president of the commission that issued the report, Jean-Marc Sauvé, the 2,500-page document was issued as the Catholic Church in France, like in other countries, seeks to face up to shameful secrets that were long covered up. Victims welcomed the report as long overdue, and the head of the French Bishops' Conference asked for their forgiveness. Don't give forgiveness. Tell them to go fuck themselves. The report said the tally of 330,000 victims includes an estimated 216 people abused by priests and other clerics, and the rest by church figures such as scout leaders or camp counselors. The estimates are based on broader research by France's National Institute of Health and medical research into sexual abuse of children in the country. The study's authors estimate 80% of the church's victims were boys, while the broader study of sexual abuse found that 75% of the overall victims were girls. The independent commission urged the church to take strong action, denouncing its faults and silence. It also called on the Catholic Church to help compensate the victims, notably in cases that are too old to prosecute via French courts. We consider the church has a debt towards victims, Sauvé said. I think I'm pronouncing that as Sauvé, I don't know. Sauve. Anyway. Francois Deveau, head of the victims group La Parole Libérée, the Liberated Word, said it was a turning point in our history. He denounced the cover-ups that permitted mass crimes for decades, but even worse, there was a betrayal. Betrayal of trust, morality, children, innocence, he added. I'm not going to read the whole thing. Martine and Mireille, 73 and 71 respectively, were sexually assaulted by a priest when they were teenage girls in high school. You're going to lurk and cook something to settle your headspace? Understandable, Looper. They both declined to give their last name due to privacy reasons, in part because some family members were not aware. It brings on such terrible thoughts. For me personally, I had to wait for my parents to die. Oh my goodness. Because otherwise, she said it was not possible to speak out. That's horrible. I think that each victim experienced it as if they were the only one, and that's part of the phenomenon involving control and secrecy. I mean, yeah, given family members would likely be members of the church. We are in a condition of submission, mental captivity, so we follow this person who suddenly takes power over us. We are caught in a spiderweb. A recognition of the fault is essential, she said, and financial compensation is really symbolic. It won't fix things, but it also means it will cost them something. Olivier Savignac, the head of the Victims Association at Speak Out and Live Again, contributed to the investigation. He told the Associated Press that the high ratio of victims per abuser was particularly terrifying for French society and for the Catholic Church. Savignac assailed the church for treating such cases as individual anomalies instead of as a collective horror. He described being abused at age 13 by the director of a Catholic vacation camp in the south of France, who was accused of assaulting several other boys. So there's a whole lot more here I'm not going to go through. I think you get the gist. So at the very least, 330,000 children victims of church sex abuse in France, just in France, over the last 70 years. There we go. So we've covered that story at the very least. So that's done. That's something. That's something. I don't know. How are you folks feeling about that one? I don't even know. That's not really a great story to be on. Honestly, I feel like I might have seen that story and actively tried to steer away from it. But anyway, what could we move on to? I don't know. Is there anything you want to talk about specifically? Because there is something that came up again today, yet again, and this is honestly one of those things where I'm just like, you are using an ad blocker. I don't care if I'm using an ad blocker. Get used to it. This is one of those stories that keeps coming up every other week, or however. I mean, if you're paying attention to FromSoft games like I have been, of course, you might not be, but given at least some of the people who watch me tend to be FromSoft fans, you might have been following this constant rumor mill, which this is like in the first line of the story here. Can we talk about the unknowable darkness within us all in a moment? Yeah. If you've been, on Elden Ring, with regards to Elden Ring, I'm super keen on that. Any bit of news that comes out about it, even that stupid little shitty clip of someone jumping around. That guy has lost his job, whoever leaked that clip, and he's never going to be working in the industry again, I can guarantee you. But he or she, I don't know. He, she, they, whatever they identify, whatever their pronouns are, I don't care. That person who leaked that shitty little clip of someone jumping around in Elden Ring is never going to be working in the games industry ever again. But I really wish whoever it is that keeps publishing these articles never finds work ever again too. Because yet again, this shit. Rumor, Bloodborne PC is done. Bluepoint working on Bloodborne 2 and remaster of the first game. I don't believe this headline for a fucking second. Bloodborne 2 lol, exactly. Yeah, right. Honestly, yeah, fucking right. The Bluepoint's working on Bloodborne 2. I'll believe it when I have, an actual fucking trailer with their logo attached. Because at this point, we've seen the rumors about Bloodborne PC and even Bloodborne PS5 remastered or whatever, and it never comes to fruition. I don't know why. There's a lot of fan demand for it, but they just keep running with this fucking story over. It's always I've never heard of PlayStationLifestyle.net. Never in my life have I heard of this particular publication. And it's remastered. It came out 6 years ago, 2015. Even then, I would only tolerate a remaster in the sense that it gets a patch that fixes its fucking frame rate issues. That's it. But yeah, it's another one of these things. Let's criticize every stupid little word in this article here. Time to spin up the rumor mill once again. This time about the much beloved PlayStation exclusive title. Xbox era's Special Nick Baker is back again with yet another PlayStation rumor. Based on what is what I want to know. Corroborating details he and others have allegedly heard regarding Bluepoint working on Bloodborne 2. For those of you who are not aware, Bluepoint are the studio that did the remake, and I mean from the ground up remake of Demon's Souls, which was generally lauded. It was a lot of people hold that in high regard. They hold Bluepoint in high regard for having done such a good job. But yeah, this whole thing of working on Bloodborne 2, PS5 console remaster and the PC port. I I've been told by a couple of different sources, a couple of different things about Bloodborne. Like, what does that even mean? I've been told there's a PC port that's already done. By who? We just got this guy Special Nick. I've never heard of this guy before. Is he influential? Is he known in the industry? He does not go on to specify who developed the PC port of Bloodborne. This is the thing. I'd be excited if they released a trailer. If they said, yeah, we're releasing it. It's going to happen. And this is, by the way, on the Xbox Era podcast with regards to a PlayStation exclusive game. This is a clever work of fiction, but honestly, we've seen this so many times. I think what's happening with Bluepoint is, I believe Bluepoint is doing the sequel. Oh, I didn't mention this. I don't know if I mentioned this. Sony has recently exclusively acquired Bluepoint. I think I might have said that. I don't know. So they've actually bought Bluepoint after the Demon's Souls remaster. Hang on a second. I've got hair on my mouth or something. But anyway, this would fall into the category of original content that Bluepoint said it was working on since its Sony acquisition. While not a wholly new IP, a hypothetical Bloodborne 2 would be the first original game from Bluepoint. And if they do a good job of it, I would play it, of course. But you know, at this point we have no reason to believe this. Until we hear something from Sony explicitly, rather. And I think Bluepoint might also be doing the console remaster of the first one, I think, he concluded. He reiterates that this is simply him corroborating other similar rumors people have heard with information he's gotten from his own contacts and sources. Bluepoint's heavy involvement makes sense from the perspective of the company that did the PS3 remaster of Shadow of the Colossus as well as the PS4 remake. The studio working on the PS5 remaster of Bloodborne would allow them to become intimately familiar with the game to do the sequel proper justice. Rumors of Bloodborne coming to PC and PS5 started kicking up back in June 2020. And rumors of Bloodborne coming to PC, honestly, like rumors of Bloodborne coming to PC have been a thing since way before 2020. They've been a thing since Bloodborne came out. A lot of people really like the fucking game and desperately want to see it come to... I'm saving my webpage, that's not what I want. I want to save this article here. They've been clamoring for this for a million years, and every single time it's the exact same situation. What the fuck is PlayStationLifestyle.net? This is not a reputable source. I've never heard of anyone in that article. I've never heard... Like, they don't list any of the actual sources. This kind of shit can be thoroughly dismissed. You know, it's one of those extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence kind of thing. You know, how well is Bloodborne emulatable now? I don't know, honestly. I'm sure it's possible. Is there a PS4 emulator? I don't know. I suppose... I don't know. But yeah, like, honestly, secretly, I want to come back to this idea of, like, didn't Bloodborne... Well, yeah, it came out 6 years ago. And a remaster, in my view, should just be, like, scaling up the resolution and fixing the frame rate issues. But I'm honestly kind of annoyed by how often a game releases just a few years ago, just past gen, and then they announce the remastered edition. Or whatever it is. The director's cut. Like, Death Stranding is getting a remaster and a director's cut thing. Or, well, specifically, or did it already come out? Death Stranding getting a director's cut is kind of hilarious, given that PlayStation basically wrote, or Sony basically wrote Kojima a blank check and just said, make whatever you fucking want with Death Stranding. Like, Death Stranding, the original release, was the director's cut. He didn't have, like, a deadline or anything. He just made Death Stranding. You know, he had all the money and influence and power in the world to do whatever he felt like. And yet, for the PS5 release of the game, and I think even an update for PC, I'm not sure, yeah, here's the director's cut. Here's the full true vision. It's like, wasn't the original the full true vision? You know? I don't know. Video games are weird. This reminds you, Draco, what's going on? What does it remind you of? What does it remind you of? For some reason you thought Bloodborne was PS3. Oh, no, it's PS4. Which, you know, even if it was PS3, I would still love it. Honestly, an amazing game. I would love to see it on PC at some point. But I honestly think, for whatever reason, it's not a priority for Sony, like with Horizon Zero Dawn and... what else came out? There was Days Gone, Horizon Zero Dawn, Death Stranding was originally a PS exclusive. What else was there? Was there anything... Were there any other PS exclusives? Destiny? That wasn't an exclusive, was it? That was already on Xbox and stuff. No, there were a few PlayStation exclusives they brought over to PC. Yes, Death Stranding, the Norman Reedus Bladder Simulator. Yes, that one. Which I am tempted to play, but I'll also not. You're watching a debate on Jack's stream last night with the capitalistic stance being taken by someone called Ryan Bourne. And I was like, everyone talking about Bloodborne being hard, but the real difficulty is dealing with Ryan Bourne. Yeah, so Horizon, Days Gone, Death Stranding. I don't know if there was there another one? But basically Sony has been putting out some of their most popular exclusive titles on PC at the very least. So there's a precedent for them to bring Bloodborne to PC, but we haven't seen anything to suggest that's the case. And they also seemingly brought out all those exclusive games to PC kind of around the same time. Like they did them all within a very short span of each other. And then it's basically been zipped since. I don't think there's been anything else in that regard. Don't want to catch any Ryan Bourne illness. Riverboat Jack, yes, Riverboat Jack. We love Riverboat Jack. Awesome streamer, awesome political streamer. Knows way more about this shit than I do. I'm talking about Bloodborne. I'm not even talking about politics. Maybe I'm talking about ethics in game journalism. Let's start Gamergate up again. Except this time, instead of being a misogynistic campaign, let's reignite Gamergate as a misandrist campaign against actual dogshit game journalists like PlayStationLifestyle.net, facilitating the fucking Bloodborne PC rumor mill again. Go fuck yourselves, honestly. Unironically, anyone who publishes rumors about a Bloodborne remaster should just have their journalistic credentials stricken from the record. You're no longer allowed to work in the industry anymore if you publish Bloodborne remaster rumors. That's going on the Bird app. Fuck it. There we go. On the Bird app, ethics in games. Did someone say Activision? Well, ethics in games journalism, which was the facade for which was a very misogynistic harassment campaign against numerous women in the games journalism industry. Let's be real with what Gamergate was actually about. She's finally going to be moving out soon, which is good because her dad's a transphobic old fuck. Oh, Jesus, that sucks. I mean, it's good that she's moving out, but it fucking sucks. I mean, I didn't even realize she lived with her dad. That's awful. Anyway. Oh, yeah, I already read that one. Yeah. On the subject of, Activision and all that, yeah. That's always a discussion to have, is ethics in the games industry. I always get a little bit sad. Occasionally, I'll see someone get really excited. I finally got a job at my dream company. I'm going to be working at Blizzard. And I'm like, oh, honey, no. I saw that recently. Like, honestly, right in the wake of the Activision Blizzard scandal around sexual harassment. You know that whole story where a woman committed suicide after nudes of her were solicited and were trafficked around the workplace? And she was subjected to some really awful shit and she ended up taking her own life. Literally as that was unfolding, as that story was unfolding over that week, I saw somebody post a tweet, I'm going to be working at Blizzard, I'm so excited, it's my dream job. I'm like, deny the application, find another company, do yourself a favor, get away from that mess. And it was a woman too. I just don't. Glad the studio you work at seems to be really positive. Well, that's a plus. Just got an ad for something called Palmer Bet, and they kept insisting that it wasn't that Palmer, as in Clive Palmer. They kept insisting it wasn't Clive Palmer. Oh my god. You got it? Fuck yes. Can we get some... Hang on. Check chat in a second. I'm just gonna post something like just because we like Ziwa and we wanna congratulate Ziwa. Are you checking chat? I don't know what she did exactly. Something in the game. Basically finish the game. Fuck yeah. apart from the golden strawberry. So she's way further ahead in Celeste than I'll ever be, honestly. Is the person coming out related to activists? So who's coming out? Wait, what? Let me come back. Oh, she came out to her dad recently as trans and he took it the worst way. Wait. Only, like, how recently are we talking? Jack is one of the most feminine presenting people I've ever seen in my life. Honestly. She's only recently come out. How long has she been out for? Anyway, that's beside the point. We love Jack. Anyway, a month or so. That's kind of wild. Like, living with transphobic parents, and yet, what, they didn't make the connection? I don't know. Anyway, Blizzard did do a lot after all that was released to reform the HR department, but it seems like it was more in response rather than to prevent it in the first place. Yes, exactly. Which we should never, we should never encourage that. It should always be preventative rather than reactive, which is how Twitch responds to things, honestly. If there are problems with the platform, or whatever it is, or the publisher or the studio, whatever it is, those kinds of things need to be dealt with preventatively. Like, there's more than enough evidence to suggest these kinds of things will happen. So preventative measures should be put in place when you're structuring the company, HR is never for the employees. They only do what's best for the company. It's their job. Which is why we should be pro-unionization, for the record. Which is why there should absolutely be a universal... And I mean, given what's happening in America at the moment, I've noticed there's a lot of labor strikes going on across numerous industries, across numerous companies. It definitely seems like there is a new labor movement happening in the US. Let me find something. I spelled that with a U. I think there was... Yeah, here we go. This was something that came up recently. Another heck yeah, Ziwa. This was only published on the 1st of October, so it's a little bit older, this article now, but we can take a look at this. Because, yeah, I've noticed there have been a lot of strikes in the US. There has been the Activision Blizzard thing, which has got a lot of people talking about how there should be some unionization at Activision Blizzard. AB hired union busters as well, which I don't know if this will come up in this particular article, but, you had C-cup tits living with your parents and they didn't notice. Actually, my sister's dog was the first and only to notice because she couldn't recognize me when my smell changed and I took my glasses off. Fuck. Everyone thought it was so cute and funny, which it was, but only I secretly knew the sinister reason behind it. That's actually kind of adorable. I think one guy at Blizzard stepped down and got his golden parachute. Yes, exactly. And he wasn't the only one doing it, yeah. The guy... Who was at the left? The guy with the really long hair, J. Allen Brack. Left the company, and yeah, golden parachute, definitely. He was jettisoned. Could probably retire on that money, honestly. Companies are only good at putting out fires, not preventing them. Welcome back, Lupo. So yeah, like John Deere, IATSE, Kellogg's, quite a few labor actions going on, which is good, yes. Join a union. Join your union if you are an employee, I suppose. We've heard a lot about how workers have reevaluated their relationship with work during the pandemic. Between labor shortages across industries, a series of strikes and union organizing drives, and the shift toward remote work, workers are claiming greater control of their position in the economy. And public sentiment is with them. A recent Gallup poll found that 68% of Americans and 77% of people aged 18 to 34 have a positive opinion of unions. Am I in the games industry? No, I am not. I wouldn't want to be. I used to want to be a game dev. Worker movement said high-profile corporations like Amazon, Nabisco, Starbucks, and now Kaiser Permanente, I don't know, are building up to what may become a wave of labor unrest. Liz Schuler, president of the AFL-CIO, argues that we are in the beginning stages of a modern labor movement. In an op-ed in the Chicago Sun-Times, she wrote that a modern labor movement begins by putting good jobs and working people at the center of our national conversation, back where it used to be when work was respected culturally and rewarded economically. Marketplace host Kai Risdall spoke to Schuler about labor policy and the makings of a modern labor movement. The following is an edited transcript of their conversation. So Kai Risdall says, you had a piece in the Chicago Sun-Times a couple of weeks ago in which you said the current model of American capitalism basically creates instability and threatens democracy. And you said, welcome then a modern labor movement, and the question I have to ask you now is, what does a modern labor movement look like? Liz Schuler says, well, a modern labor movement is a movement that grows and changes as the economy grows and changes. And we want that movement, we want to be that movement that meets the needs of workers in the future to make sure that, the jobs in emerging industries are good, high-quality jobs to support a family. We think one job should actually be enough, and we want that to be bold, dynamic, and we want to be that bold, dynamic, inclusive place to unite working people and show that when they come together, they're more powerful. I really wish they would edit out stuff like, anyway, I know I say that stuff, but still. We can actually make the economic scales work for them, because we see inequality at record highs and workers actually need more power to leverage and demand that better paying job. And we think that a dynamic and modern labor movement will be the place to do that. Rizdal, the catch of course is that while support for organized labor is very high in this country, something like 11% of the American workforce is unionized. That's a low going back decades and decades. What do you do with that as the woman whose job is to make that number go the other way? R/anti-work has a lot of great stories of workers not putting up with company manager BS anymore. We'll take a look at that in a moment. Well, we have a lot of faith and hope in the working people, and what we're seeing out there is a demand for change. So our challenge is, in the labor movement, to connect the dots for people to show that when you stand up through a union, that you're better off, you have better pay, that you have that security, and that you can retire with dignity. And that's what's missing in this economy. Filler words are necessary markers in verbal conversation, but mostly litter in edited text. Absolutely, yes. You don't need those kind of things. Like, I leave those in scripts, generally speaking. If I'm writing a script for a video, which I should have been working on today, but I didn't. I put that kind of stuff in because I do use it as kind of a verbal punctuation almost. And it kind of helps the thing flow better, depending on like what kind of speech pattern I'm going for in the piece. Anyway, so we hope that more workers, since we have everything lined up right now. The popularity of unions is so high. We have a Gallup poll that showed 68% of the public sees the labor movement and unions favorably, including 77% of young people, that now is the moment of opportunity for the labor movement. Did I see the post about a trans woman realizing she was trans because of a horse? No, I didn't. Let's get both of these up really quickly and we'll come back around to those. Hang on. I think I did see this post you've just showed me on Twitter. I'll come back to it. But anyway, we could look at r/anti-work if you want. Hang on. We're going to talk about work stuff. Anyway. Where were we? We've seen that bit. So, with all respect though, ma'am, faith, hope, and popularity don't pay the bills, so I have to ask you about moves in Congress to help your cause. The House passed, as you know, the Protecting the Right to Organized Act, the PRO Act. It now sits having passed one House, and the prospects in the Senate are up in the air, shall we say, as a lot of things are in the United States Senate. Where do you go from here at a national level? I know we're talking about, American workforce kind of stuff here, but any movement towards better labor rights, especially in one of the biggest countries in the world, is going to be an incentive for improvement for other workers' rights across the world. Well, the PRO Act is one piece of a workers' first agenda that we've been pushing for. If you don't have the rights to come together in your workplace and demand bargain for better wages and conditions, then the rest of democracy crumbles around us. England follows America a lot, so does Australia. And I think we're seeing that people have less faith in democracy because of the economy and how it's treated working people. And people have lost hope. So we are advocating for, yes, the passage of the PRO Act. And, getting pieces of the PRO Act in any legislative vehicle we can find, including reconciliation. But we also see the role of the labor movement to advocate for working people and the plight of working people in our country, including preserving democracy and getting the needed investments we need in this Build Back Better agenda. And that's a big swing, linking the fate of this democracy to the economic advantages of unionized labor. And I point that out just to make sure that people understand what it was that you said about, without making a value judgment on it. But I wonder what it says about that linkage, that Congress can't agree on what day it is, let alone what to do with organized labor. Well, Congress is busy at work as we speak, trying to come to terms on what this investment agenda is going to look like. And right now, workers are getting the short end of the stick. The inequality levels are sky high. We have a polarized economy where some people are doing very well, and others, most of us, the 99%, have to work 2 and 3 jobs just to get by, when we think one job should be enough to support a family, as it well should be. Bloody hell. The fact that there are people working 2 or 3 jobs is ridiculous. There should be no such thing as a second job. So that's what we're advocating for, is that the labor movement will be the center of gravity for working people to demand more and get their fair share of growth that's happening in the economy. There we go. There's that. Well, so let's have a look at this. Horse made me transgender. This is just like Squid Game. Let's have a look at this horse made me transgender thing. I'm curious. Story time to explain this. There's a horse where I worked named Lucy who hates men. Like bite your face off levels of hate. And to me, who's been having gender thoughts but not really realizing what that means. I've been avoiding Lucy because I quite like having my face not bitten off, thank you. Then one day I forget she hates men and I go into her store with her to clean out, She doesn't hate me, but I don't think anything about it because I don't remember that she's sexist. Someone walks by and comments on how she never lets any men in there. Haha, weird. Internally, I'm screaming, holy shit, holy shit, holy shit. Thoughts that I've been having suddenly start to make sense, and that's how I realized I was a girl. Oh, that's amazing. Horses know. Blowing can be a second job. Fucking horses, man. Anyway, let's take a look at this. Okay, so why won't anyone work? Don't they want jobs? These are good jobs. You can probably barely see this. Let's see if I can open this in a new tab. Here we go. Who needs gender therapy when animals are right there to tell you to be trans? I had a similar thing with a friend's cockatoo who always swore at men and bit them. There you go. Good evening, me. I was reviewing the cameras from our shift today and noticed you were sitting on a stool for the majority of your shift. This is completely unacceptable behavior and we will be discussing it tomorrow before shift. I cleared it with lead. I have 2 broken bones in my left foot, doctor documented. Aside from that, I packed a 240 plus UPH for the entirety of my shift, 12 full hours. I'm not sure if you're aware, but we do have a ranked list for packing displayed directly above our stations. My efforts earned me the first place today. So just to be clear, my impressive performance was overshadowed by the fact that I wasn't uncomfortable enough while doing it. I'm really not appreciating your attitude. You could have just said the first part where it was cleared with another lead instead of being disrespectful. This type of behavior isn't going to get you anywhere. Hey, thanks for wasting my precious time with some garbage you didn't bother to investigate beforehand. Seriously, 240 plus UPH, I don't know what UPH stands for. What you claim to be the pinnacle of performance there, pardon? Oh, units per hour. There we go. I'd imagine it'd be units. Yeah, there we go. Thank you. Where were we? I achieved it, and I get grief because I was sitting while doing it. You guys need to get your priorities straight. It is no wonder that you have such difficulties retaining staff. I'm not concerned with going anywhere there. It's a toxic environment with ignorant people at the helm. I won't be in tomorrow or ever again. We don't need to rush to you leaving. Let's talk in the morning and we can sort this out. No thanks. Have a good life. Fucking based. Okay, what's the next one? I need you to come in from 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. today. We have an event scheduled and only one bartender. No thank you. Tomorrow is my day off. You need to be a team player. It isn't all about you. Please come in tomorrow. Why are you just now telling me at 3 a.m. that you need me to work at 11? You need me to work 11 hours tomorrow. I've had a few drinks and I don't feel like coming into work hungover and working that long on my day off. You need to stay ready for work. Getting too drunk is not a good look. If you can't stay prepared, sometimes things happen and we need to cover each other. You're telling the bartender to not drink on his time off? Want to go tell the chefs not to eat off the clock too? Dude, if you had given me more notice, I would have considered it and not just had any drinks so I wouldn't have to work that long hungover. But you waited too long, I'm already drunk, and I don't feel like coming in and working 11 hours while hungover. Don't you know how to bartend too? Even if you don't, we literally have flashcards for each drink on the menu for each event. You can literally just tape them to the counter and use them as a guide to make the drinks yourself. We are going to talk about this attitude when you come in Sunday. No, we're not. Bartenders are needed all over the place now. I think I'll just go work at one of the dozens of places hiring around here. I'm fed up with you. Give me a call. Don't make such an impulsive decision. You're making a mistake because you're drunk and you think it's a good idea. When you wake up tomorrow, you're going to regret this. Eat my ass. Fucking based. Hell yes. This is why there are labor problems. The problems with companies not being able to retain labor because they treat their workers like fucking dog shit. By the way, I just need to call out this stupid idiot who just followed me, who probably already unfollowed me. You need Jesus badly. Friend. Oh, good lord. Someone with the username "You Need Jesus Badly." Okie dokie. Literature Club. Anyway, I'm not too hungover to argue. No one wants to work. 700,000 COVID-19 deaths, 100,000 drug overdose deaths, 2 million more people than expected retiring, 3+ million women leaving workforce for childcare reasons, millions permanently disabled from long COVID, poor pay, crap hours, poor treatment, micromanagement, and lack of benefits. Wizard needs Jesus badly. I guarantee you they followed and unfollowed. Anyway. Work 8 to 10 hour shifts, and the closest thing I have to being able to sit down and standing at a checkout instead of carrying stock around. Legitimately at Aldi, right? They have all of their staff sit down at the till, you know. And I don't understand why Coles and Woolworths, the other two major supermarket chains in Australia, don't allow their staff to sit at the till. So hang on, Aldi workers sit at the register when you're checking out. They sit down, they have a chair. And it just, I suppose because at Aldi they don't bag for you. Yes, obviously. But I mean, you could still have a swivel chair. And realistically speaking, why are we not having people bagging their own groceries at Coles and Woolworths anyway? I mean, they've already got self-serve checkouts to begin with at those two stores. They don't have self-serve checkouts at Aldi. You have to go through a register. Supermarkets don't let their peeps sit down at checkouts. Nope. And, you know, these people who are working for hours at a time, standing, you know, it's kind of ludicrous when you think about it. Anyway, we're past the halfway point of stream. I'm going to take a leak and then we'll come back. Probably from their American roots where they still have standing cashiers, which is atrocious. If your workers can do their jobs if your workers can do their jobs sitting comfortably and all that kind of stuff, they should be permitted to do so. Anyway, I'll be right back, folks. Don't go away. And then we'll continue talking about this because it's good shit. What's up, you fucking gays? What do you say? Girlfriend just saying she loves me. And now she's embarrassed. It's okay. We love my girlfriend, don't we? Every one of us. It's a collective. Because she's Abigail Beck's girlfriend, right? And as a result, that's all of us. All of us here at the Twitch.television channel, Abigail Beck. Love my girlfriend. Is that true? If it's not true, you can all go fuck yourselves. Honestly. Or you can subscribe. Does she come on stream sometimes? Occasionally. We've seen her when people redeem hugs. But she's usually like just out of shot, so you didn't see her face. Did you call me a fucking gay? I'll have you know I'm a non-fucking gay. There we go. Lupa's redeeming hugs. Huh? Give her a minute. Hang on. Never press someone who's not comfy being on cam. That's true. It's true. Is she an ace gay? How many things are we redeeming right now? Fuck. Okay, we got hydrate. We got head pat, so get that out of the way. Thank you. Why is the yo-yo redeem so fucking cheap? I have to stand up for this shit.
More than Hans.
Yeah, I know. And my cat's here now. He can. Here you go. There you go, Lily. That's for redeeming all these things at once. That's not even the redeem middle finger. That's just me going, hey, how about fuck you? Anyway, here's me playing with a yo-yo. I can do a couple of things, not much. I should learn lowercase a.
A.
Was that lowercase enough? Okay, she's in. Are you? Maybe do your flyer. And yes, we do have a cat on stream. Cat stream. I didn't miss anything while I was away, did I? There were no, like, secret raids or anything. Yelling in lowercase. What have I done here? I have completely fucked it. Alright. Come here. Get your hug. How close are you? How comfortable are you? There you go.
I'm quite comfortable.
Okay.
I like that.
Oh, okay. The kiss is complimentary.
That's just me. That's just that one.
That's just for her. Yeah. Because you got to make it extra gay. And also, my cat is now laying on the floor, and he wants the yo-yo. We all know the reason you folks are actually here, because you want to see her. I want to try something. I want to experiment with something really quickly. Well, I don't know how I'm going to do this. Okay, I've got an idea how I'm going to do this. Alright. No, this might be dangerous. I don't know, because I've got a lav mic. Right? And it's shit. It's a $20 lav mic. I shouldn't have bought it. I knew it was going to be shit quality. I wanted to use it to record my next YouTube video with. So I got a lav mic, and it's got a really long cable, like, you know. There we go. Like, see? And I could plug this in. I want to see how it sounds on stream. I have already tested it out in, like, Voice Recorder, but Voice Recorder notoriously sounds like shit no matter what microphone you use. Like, I've used the Voice Recorder app on Windows with this microphone, and it sounds like absolute fucking garbage. Yes, lavalier mic. So I want to see how it sounds in OBS. But I think I'll give it a test run later on. Because we could use that for something. Like, I want to do a cooking stream at some stage, I think. For the purposes of that, I'd probably need a lav mic. But I think I want to get one of those ones that have a little battery pack. What do I use for lighting? I use Wiz lights, W-I-Z. And they connect to my phone. And they've got like numerous different lighting options. So we've got a light there, a light up in the ceiling, and a light over yonder. And then I've got a lighting strip on the back of my bed, and like, obviously I can change them. I've got some settings, so like, as you can see right here, got a few settings on my phone that are automatically set up. So like you've got a scene for this room. You've got numerous scenes for this room that you can swap between, which is a really cool feature. Anyway, oh, my phone's fully charged. Anyway, you get to hear Abby's voice in the highest fidelity possible. What's the best way to get your coworkers to unionize? Break their kneecaps until they cooperate. Or you could do that whole thing of like talking to them, hopefully. That would be the ideal situation. Zoom is pretty dog shit for sound as well, which annoys me. I have a Rode NT1A XLR and it sounds like I'm using a $20 headset from the reject shop. Hey, we got my sister from there. Anyway, just gonna jab at my sister for no fucking reason. Anyways, talking to co-workers, I know, crazy. I've been applying for jobs. Can you believe this shit? I've actually been applying for part-time work recently. And get myself back into the workforce and earn some more serious income because goodness knows this shit doesn't pay well. $5 a month. Anyway, and you know, if it came down to it, I think I'm actually going to become an active member of the union. There was a union that you could join before, but I honestly think it was the union that was available to join was kind of advertised to us when we joined the company, or it was like given to us as an option. Here, you can join this union, which was always a bit iffy to me. It always seemed a bit odd to me. I don't know. You actually applied for a job this month. Oh, goodness. Good. You jab at your sister for no reason. It's just sibling rivalry, honestly. And I love my sister. She's great. Are we not enough for you, Abby? Not financially, honestly. For 15 hours a week of streaming, which I'm down from like 20 hours a week. I've reduced the time input here. No, I definitely don't get paid enough. Fuck no. If minimum wage were to be brought into the equation, no fucking way in hell. Can't wait until you get a job. I thought that read you can't wait till you get a jab. And it's like, yeah, I think there are still some people out there who can't wait to get a jab. You know, I'm getting my second one earlier. I've bumped it up. It used to be December. Now it is early November. I'm going to get, November the 8th. November the 8th, I'm getting my second jab. So I will be able to go and do stuff. No, I'm not actually starting injectables. No, I'd like to. That'd be cool if I could just inject a needle of estrogen once a week. No, we can't actually get those in Australia. Or rather, we can. Money is a problem there. Costs way more to get injections done, and you have to go to a clinic, is the thing. You can't just do it yourself. You have to go to a clinic, a specialized clinic, to get e-injections done, if you wanted to do that. Which sucks, but I guess I understand it. And I think my endocrinologist said there's like 2 specialists in the country that do injections. And one of them is in New South Wales, but yeah, it's like an 8-hour drive to get there. You can order it online in the grey market, but I don't want to do that. We can't get them in the UK either, but you need to buy Bitcoin to get some from the Ukraine. Fucking hell. Oh, why can't transition be easy? Jesus. This is literally what we are fighting for. I, as a privileged person who was able to get on estrogen after her first endocrinologist appointment, which was really easy to score, I'm one of the privileged transes. Honestly, come to Australia if you can. Trans medical care is actually pretty good here. What'd you say? What? I agree. There we go. She agrees. Like, legit. I'm just on Zoomies. I got my Zoomies here. I got my Zooming on. Is the other place in Victoria? I'm not certain. I'll ask my endo when I speak to her soon. Because I am going into my endocrinologist shortly after I get my second jab, actually. Because if it were easy, everyone would do it. Yes, exactly. That's the problem that all the transphobes have. If it was so easy to medically transition... Listen, we the cisgenders... No, they wouldn't refer to themselves as cisgenders. We the gender criticals believe... Hang on. We the gender criticals of the United Kingdom believe that transgender ideology is mutilating our children, and as a result we need to put in as many stops to medical transition as humanly possible. And put all of the other existing transgenders into gas chambers. Like, they're steps away from advocating active genocide. Honestly. The kind of shit you see coming out of gender criticals on social media, and let's be honest with ourselves, there's only like 12 of them. But they make like 1,000 accounts and then they all just circle jerk each other. You'll notice that if you go to end a gender critical account where they've got like 5,000 followers, they're also following 5,000 other gender critical accounts. It's 12 people. It's somebody did a study on this. It's literally just like a small group of people who are artificially inflating their numbers with fake accounts. Now, don't get me wrong, there is an actual serious problem with the GC/TERF/transphobe movement that is actively working against transgender rights, of course. However, on social media, they are greatly inflating their influence. They're making it look they're making themselves look better than they are. It's hilarious because you go to these accounts where it's like, oh, this person has 5,000 followers. You scroll down their Twitter feed and it's either retweets of irrelevant shit that is like tangentially related to feminism, or they are posting routinely about the transes and they're getting like no likes, no comments, maybe a quote tweet every now and then that's just to drag them. Anyway, it's fucking hilarious. Give them a Texan accent. Ooh, Texan. Well, see, here's the thing, is I don't know specifically what a Texan accent sounds like. I have this broad interpretation, and this might be my own mistaken here, that a Texan tends to sound like someone who's a bit more country. However, I do understand that Texas does have a fairly large city population. So southern, more like Kentucky. Okie dokie. Hang on. As a transgender woman, I feel like I need to feminize my voice a little bit more. I don't know. I know America's got a lot of different accents. So somebody who sounds like they're, from the West Coast, they're probably going to sound a little bit different to somebody who's more southern. Somebody who's from California. That's not even close. I'm exaggerating it a bit, actually. Pardon? It hurts. What? The accents or what? Apparently my accents hurt. They're not that good. You're teasing. Oh, you're teasing. She is quite a tease. Let's be honest with ourselves here. Now Midwest. I don't know if I could do Midwest. Main accents are Midwest, Cali, Boston. Bostonians. Get out of here. What? I'm walking in. Hearing people from other countries mimicking US accents is amusing to me. What's hilarious to me is the people who cannot do an Australian accent to save their life. I have heard so many people try the Aussie accent and they never get it. It's like, oh gee, what does an Australian sound like? Let me think for a moment. Throw a few shrimp on the barbie, mate. They always either do the closest approximation of a stereotype Australian accent, or they just do a British accent. It's basically like a couple of words come across vaguely Aussie sounding amidst the rest of their normal accent. Everyone always goes for the croc Dundee boys. That's not a knife. That's a knife. Oi, Sheila, I gotta put some Vegemite on the roux. Scuff British. I do have a sword. Where's my cat so I don't run him over with my chair? He's under my desk. I got rid of the footstool that my cat was resting on under my desk, and now he's just sitting down under there lamenting the loss of the footstool. Well, that's not a knife. That's a knife. Just lathering a kangaroo with Vegemite. Somebody probably would. They do sell kangabangers in the supermarket. You know what a kangabanger is? Kangaroo sausages. I want to get some. I've tried kangaroo before. It's not terrible. We just do the Bogan accent. Well, fang us a couple durries, man. I wanna have a smoke before going to work at the bottle. Hey. Having a fucking punching a fucking duck before I went down to Joe's place, the trailer park. We don't actually call them trailer parks. What do we call them in Australia? I don't know. Caravan parks? Trailer park? Yeah, you live down the holiday park now, eh? Yeah, you could either see. I know bogans call cigarettes durries, darts, F slurs. Because, you know. I need to know. I honestly need. I mean. Yeah, can I bum a dart off ya? Replace the term dart with the shortened form of the F slur. You thought durry was diarrhea. Apparently the general American accent is closer to how England sounded a few hundred years ago, and the England accent is relatively new. Yeah, as far as I know, that was an interesting little thing. Like, because obviously America, seceded from the... What did they do? Like, from the UK? They broke off from the UK. They rebelled. And I think there was some... I think the United Kingdom just sort of adopted a new accent to kind of spite the US. I don't know. Revolted. Yeah, they revolted. Can I bum a F slur off you is common in the UK as well. Yeah, exactly. Can we talk about how diarrhea is a common side effect of periods? No one talks about that a lot. You've been talking about it a lot because you found out you get a period every month roughly now. You need to keep track of your symptoms. Speaking of, if I'm getting symptoms this month, they'll be happening soon. Next week or so. Gonna change into me budgie smugglers in the dunny. Aristocrats made up their own weird accent to sound better than the masses, then it bled into the masses. Well, yeah, I think that's what I was trying to say, yeah. Generally speaking, they were just like, oh, the US are gonna take our accent. Well, we're going to make our own accent. And then it's rather interesting how accents develop. You know, a lot of people have this bizarre idea around accents. Smudge, get down. Fuck off. Come on, out you get. Don't be a cunt. You know, given the fact that we can just change our accent, and I've heard people who've gone and moved to other countries and come back over to Australia, they sound completely different. Like, it's interesting how we can just, you know, it's not even a generational thing. We can just literally change the way we sound to accommodate the other people around us, you know. So we told the king to fuck himself. He didn't take it very well. Wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, I had a question. I want to know, did the term F-slur for cigarettes originate from the initial term for a bundle of sticks, or is it tied to the homophobic slur specifically? There's an interesting thought. I imagine, generally speaking, F-slur, which is also a type of food. Yeah, bundle of sticks. I think it's the bundle of sticks definition, because it's a bundle of sticks. It's cigarettes. Can I grab a stick off you, mate? You know. How did the bundle of sticks word end up becoming a slur for gay people in the first place? Also an instrument. It's an instrument too? This word gets around. Be tied to the sticks since cigarettes. Yeah, a bundle of dried leaves, true. Because twinks, maybe? Searching for the answer. Thank you. Thank you, Shay. This has become an interesting discussion. Don't you use bundles of sticks to burn people? You do. It's called a pyre, or a bonfire. It had something to do with being burned at the stake, perhaps. Bundle of sticks as in pain in the back associated with women. Has like 10 other meanings in English. Jesus Christ. Maybe Cockney rhyme for dicks, maybe. First a slur for women, then for gays. That's interesting. Because bundle of sticks can be reinterpreted as well, you know. You see, sticks are just like erect penises, and gay men love erect penises. I think about penises a lot. The F slur was also used for older women who gathered sticks into bundles. Language is interesting in this regard. In many respects. I would like to study language. I've never thought to actually do it. But, you know, I feel like I should. I feel like I should study language. Okay. Have fun. Don't slip over. Okay. Apparently the gay slur version of the F slur comes from the F slur meaning an annoying person. In Czech we actually say smoking for sucking dick. I mean, I've heard the euphemism smoking cock. That's pretty, you know, like that's not an uncommon thing, I don't think. I'm curious. Let's see if there's an article on this. Is there a gaming set? Yeah, there is the Gamer Cafe in the Discord, which is just generally talking about games. And if you want to, there's also the Hangout in the Discord server. If you want to go in there and like you can stream games in there if you feel like it, and people can join in and hang out. I'm curious now. Am I allowed to? I'm not gonna bring the Wikipedia page up. I'm just going to read. Excuse me. I'm just going to read this and I'm going to like censor the use of the F slur because I know you can technically do this, but I don't want to risk it. But anyway. The American slang term first recorded in 1914, the shortened form F slur, like F-A-G, shortly after in 1921. Its immediate origin is unclear, but it is based on the word for bundle of sticks. Excuse me. Get this. And I knew this already. This is a bit of etymology that I am familiar with. Ultimately derived via Old French, Italian, and Vulgar Latin from Latin fascis. Yes, as in literally fascism. So the term F-slur has got a close association with fascism by etymological roots. Bunch of fascists. Anyway, the word F-slur has been used in English since the late 16th century as an abusive term for women, particularly old women, and reference to homosexuality may derive from this, as female terms are often used with reference to homosexual or effeminate men, for example, Nancy, Sissy, or Queen. The application of the term to old women is possibly a shortening of the term F-slur gatherer, applied in the 19th century to people, especially older widows, who made a meager living by gathering and selling firewood. It may also derive from the sense of something awkward to be carried. Compare the use of the word baggage as a pejorative term for old people in general. So phobes like fascism. Big shock there. Yes, indeed. So we could call the Nazis F-slurs. Anyway. An alternative possibility is that the word is connected with the practice of F-slurring in British private schools, in which young boys performed potentially sexual duties for older boys, although the term F-slur was never used in this context, only short F-slur. There is a reference to the word F-slur being used in the 17th century Britain to refer to a man hired into military service simply to fill out the ranks at muster, but there is no known connection to the word's modern usage. The Yiddish word fagela, literally little bird, has been claimed by some to be related to the American usage. The similarity between the words makes it possible that it may have at least had a reinforcing effect, which that comes up in Robin Hood Men in Tights, which I didn't realize, now looking back, homophobic joke. No, we're straight, just merry. Still a great movie though. There is an urban legend called an oft reprinted assertion by Douglas Harper that the modern slang meaning developed from the standard meaning of F slur as a bundle of sticks for burning with regard to burning at the stake. This is unsubstantiated. The emergence of the slang term in 20th century American English is unrelated to historical death penalties for homosexuality. Why can't there be historical death penalties for heterosexuality anyway? Some gay men have reclaimed the term as a neutral or positive term of self-description. I mean, I refer to myself as that. At this point, you know, if people are going to refer to me as an F slur, meaning, you know, as a pejorative for gay men, I'm going to reclaim it too. Fuck it. Even if I am a trans lesbian. So when you're asking for an F slur, you're asking for a used cigarette. Okay, so hang on. So the cigarette was probably from F slur end, meaning remnant. I'm surprised the bot didn't catch either of those. English faga flap. So the cigarette is referring to the end of it. So you're asking for an F slur, meaning you're asking for a used cigarette. Okay, so meanings: cigarette, annoying person, end of fabric, woman, gay man, the worst part of something, the end of something, a chore or arduous task. A younger student acting as a servant for older students, to make exhausted, to droop, to work hard, to have a young student as a servant, which is the same as number 9. The fish eaten by the cat choked on the fish. Oh, fuck. At private boarding schools, like eaten. 3 words, Siggy butt brain. That is a meme that I never got, and the thing is, at this point, I have no intention on correcting that. And yes, Lady Necro, let's have a look at this, because this came up recently. But yeah, like the, where was I? There was a point I was going to make and I've forgotten what it was. From what I've seen, the one being choked can signal if things are going too far with a hand gesture or some such. Also, hand placement and pressure is due. What are we talking about? People can do unsafe things for kink as long as everyone involved is consenting and not dying, yes. More than the loss of brain cells the day you... Yeah, oh yeah, the Siggy butt brain thing. I don't want to watch it. I remember being at TAFE when there were a bunch of people making reference to that right around that time. And like everyone's making the reference to it, and I just did not care to look up what exactly they were referencing. And now like I'm aware that it's a bit of internet Australian lore, but I don't want to... so what Looper referred to, Siggy butt brain. It's an old meme video, basically. But this is definitely a thing, what happened recently. Texas school district sparks outrage after telling teachers to offer opposing Holocaust viewpoints. This is a thing. Look like a 45-degree angle. You are so cute. Thank you. I mean, technically speaking, you're kind of on a 45-degree, aren't you? Like... when we think about it, realistically, like if I'm looking straight on... Hi, Tilt Shift Tokyo. How you doing? More stupid Texas laws. That's a good title. Let's change it to that. I'm experimenting with changing the way my titles look recently. So we'll add that as the title for now. More stupid Texas laws. I am a dork. I'm a fucking massive dork. Anyway, let's go. 45 degrees. Anyway, looking straight on, impossible. Yeah, opposing Holocaust viewpoints. What's an opposing Holocaust viewpoint? What is this is literally teach the controversy for the Holocaust. You remember Teach the Controversy? Are they still doing this? Are they still doing Teach the Controversy for evolution? Are they still... Does anyone know if they're still doing that? Opposing viewpoint, Hitler was right. Yeah, like what? Denying it happened? What is the opposing... Like, this is literally historical. Not even just historical. It's modern history. It happened in the last 80 years. Like, this is the problem. You gonna dip and wind down in bed? Sounds good, Looper. Have a good rest. Take your mind off things. Modern in both senses of the word. What do you mean? Like artistically modern? I'm confused. Anyway. Holocaust denial, or the belief or assertion the Holocaust did not happen or was greatly exaggerated, is perhaps the most prominent anti-Semitic conspiracy theory out there. The event, which was the genocide of European Jews during World War II, cost 6 million lives, not including the lives of millions of others, including ethnic Poles, the Roma, the disabled and gay men who were persecuted under the Nazi regime. There is no doubt the Holocaust took place, so what would an opposing view of it entail? That's what mired the Carroll Independent School District in Southlake, Texas in controversy this past week after a top administrator advised teachers to present opposing viewpoints if they're going to assign books about the Holocaust. Gina Petty, the Carroll School District's Executive Director of Curriculum and Instruction, made the remarks during a training session on which books teachers can have in classroom libraries. A Carroll staff member secretly recorded the training and shared the video with NBC News. Hang on. Let me just get my earbuds in because I want to see this. I want to actually see this. Your problem with Texas is that there are men who dress like cowboys. That's a very fair criticism of the state. We need to build a dome over Texas and apply litmus tests to let people out. The modern period of history is 1400 to 1945. Oh, okay. Well, yeah, I mean modern in the sense of like relative recent history. The last 100 years or so. Or maybe last 150 years or so, depending. Like from 1900 onwards is when I consider to be like modern history, so to speak, if that makes sense. But I know that's not technically accurate. Let's pause this music for a second. So a Carroll staff member secretly recorded Petty's comments. Following has been edited for length. Can I get this bigger? There we go.
We are in the middle of a political mess. And you are in the middle of a political mess. And so we just have to do the best that we can. And so we're going to go and you're going to do what you do best, and that's to teach kids.
I think we're all just really terrified.
I think you are terrified, and I wish I could take that away. I do. I can't do that. You are professionals. We hired you as professionals. We trust you with our children. So if you think the book is okay, then let's go with it. And whatever happens, we will fight it together. We will.
There's a lot of districts that are in the exact same spot we're in. And no one knows how to navigate these waters. I mean, no one.
Teachers complained that they still didn't understand the new book guidelines, so Petty offered an example.
As you go through, just try to remember the concepts of 3979 and make sure that if you have a book on the Holocaust, that you have one that has other.
How do you oppose the Holocaust?
Believe me, that's come up.
So number the stars, which is
In a statement, a Carroll spokeswoman said Petty's example about the Holocaust reflects the district's attempts to comply with a new state law that requires teachers to present multiple perspectives when discussing widely debated and currently controversial issues. Listen, the Holocaust is established history. Anyone who is trying to debate the Holocaust is a conspiracy theorist and an anti-Semite, and their opinions should be dismissed. Is there any more, or is that it? I think that might be it. By an opposing book, does she dead ass just mean Mein Kampf? Anyway, let's continue on. There's nothing widely debated and controversial about the Holocaust. The only reason anyone would have any issue with discussing or teaching about the Holocaust is if they are an anti-Semitic fascist reactionary. That's it. That's the only reason you would have, is if you were literally trying to encourage Holocaust denialism, in a sense so that you could allow those events to occur again. And I just realized the F-slow Wikipedia page is still sitting at the top of my screen. Let me close that. It's only going to increase as we move further from when it happened. I know, which is honestly kind of terrifying. Videos about the Holocaust, I thought it was going to be about masks in schools. The lady doing the presentation seems like she's being forced to. Perhaps. What next? We're going to debate whether or not World War II happened. There are already people who have questionable thoughts about like anything that happened before 1900. And even then, obviously we are now discussing, the Holocaust in general. Referring to a new Texas law that required blah, 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 Petty said. It's already gone through this. What enabled the Holocaust were people who kept silent as one egregious thing led to another. That's how unthinkable things happen. The only other side of the Holocaust was the Nazi side. Fuck that side to hell and back. If you want to teach the opposing viewpoints of systemic eradication of an entire people in a positive light, then you can go to hell too. Get your shit together, Texas. I am named after someone who was murdered by the opposing perspective. So Texas teachers can't tell their students about systemic racism, but they can tell them there were good people on both sides during the Holocaust. I know, priorities, right? they're going to argue against like critical race theory, but then they're going to say there's another side to the Holocaust. Anyway, it's just a bunch of tweets. Petty has not responded to requests for comment. However, Carroll spokeswoman Karen Fitzgerald said the district recognizes that all Texas teachers are in a precarious position with the latest legal requirements in regard to the law, noting that an updated version will go into effect in December. Our purpose is to support our teachers in ensuring they have all the professional development resources and materials needed. Our district has not and will not mandate books be removed, nor will we mandate that classroom libraries be unavailable. According to Clay Robertson, a spokesman for the Texas State Teachers Association, there is nothing in House Bill 3979 that explicitly mentions classroom libraries. He issued a statement criticizing Petty's remarks. We find it reprehensible for an educator to require a Holocaust denier get equal treatment with the facts of history. That's absurd. It's worse than absurd, and this law does not require it. The Carroll Independent School District also found itself in the news earlier this month after board trustees voted 3-2 to reprimand a teacher who assigned an anti-racism book to her class. This book is Anti-Racist 20 Lessons on How to Wake Up, Take Action, and Do the Work by Tiffany Jewell, was at the center of a complaint filed by parents who voiced their opposition after their child brought home a copy from school. Yike. A singular yike, at the very least. You literally have no hope for humanity. I don't blame you, honestly. Anyway. The most controversial thing I can imagine teaching is whether you title the non-Jewish deaths as part of the Holocaust. People think we didn't go to the damn moon. Yeah, like, this is my favorite bit about the moon landing denialism, honestly, is if you look at the footage of the moon landing, they didn't have the technology to recreate what happened in the moon landing footage back then. They simply did not have the technology to fake it. They didn't have the lighting technology, the camera technology for like film studios. Well, I mean, you could argue the fact that, you know, NASA probably had access to special secret technology, but like literally the lighting does not work in such a way that they would have been able to fabricate that back then. Would have been easier to just go to the fucking moon. Yeah, Kubrick did get a lot of money from unknown sources right after the moon landing because they asked him to film it. This is the thing. They asked him to film the moon landing, but he demanded they do it on location. So anyway. Racism isn't real, guys. Come on. Also, Nazis are good people too. Texas. Where were we? She reached for an example and picked the worst possible one. Yeah, it's a stupid mistake, honestly. And yeah, you really can't blame people for being offended. It honestly just comes back around to, like I mentioned before, the teach the controversy thing about creationism, evolution. You know, one side is like, here's our fairy tale version of events, and here's what the science has been saying for a good long while now. People who've actually sat down and studied how this shit works. And even then, like, even if you do consider creationism as an option in that discussion, it doesn't necessarily negate evolution unless you explicitly make it out to negate evolution, unless you argue against that. Warrior of Light, you've been working out. What do you got here, Draco? Femboy Hooters. I still can't get over the fact that that Hooters actually tweeted about the Femboy Hooters meme when it was going around. Anyway. This is happening because they can no longer teach both sides, so they're mandating doing it in every subject, which is only going to end up confusing the kids. The kids need more confusion in schools, you know, and this is just another way to sow discord and what's the term I'm looking for? It's a way to sow confusion among the young generation so they're not sure what information to trust as they get older, which makes them honestly more manipulable as they get older. You know, it makes them more likely to buy into wacky conspiracy theories about vaccines and shit. Gaslighting, it might be. Yeah, I suppose gaslighting does kind of work in this instance, like on an institutional level. I do love how Kubrick trolled theorists by putting subtle hints in his movies. The U.S. government investigated Kubrick due to having the right placement of items in an active duty military bomber in Strangelove, which at the time was top level classified. Kubrick had assumed his artistic staff had just broken onto a military base to get the info. They actually spent hundreds of hours in research to determine the most likely placement of everything because Kubrick was their boss. Your boy on Twitch is looking for a girlfriend. Rough. That sucks. Oh, okay. I am in Australia. What's the vaccine and anti-vax stuff like? There are still anti-vaxxers here in Australia. And vaccine rollout seems to be going pretty well. Let me just check vaccine stats. So hang on. Let's have a look at the vaccine rollout stats, because things were bad for a while, but now we're slowly catching up and more people are getting the vaccine. Like previously, earlier this year, for example, the vaccine was only being rolled out to specific members of the community. So people who were working in like emergency, not emergency, like, what's the term? Like mandatory jobs, healthcare, aged care, anything where you might be interacting with people on a regular basis as your job, like people who were, I think people working in service, like supermarkets and stuff like that, where they're face-to-face with people all day. Supermarkets, and yeah, I said that. What else was there? People who were the most vulnerable were given vaccines first. So like there was a priority system before. And now, most recently, the vaccines have been opened up to the broader population. As it stands right now in Australia, 56.7% of the population are fully vaccinated. Where are more stats? Do we have more stats? And I think... let me see. Vaccine first doses in Australia is pretty high, if I'm not mistaken. I think COVID-19 vaccine rollout, 84.4% of people over the age of 16 have had at least one dose. 67.2% of people over the age of 16 are fully vaccinated. So 13,865,628 people over the age of 16 are fully vaccinated. 17 million roughly have got at least one dose. So it's slowly getting better. That's data as of the 15th. So it might have been pushed up by a couple of thousand by then. Since then, or a couple hundred, I don't know. So as it stands, it seems like things are pretty good with regards to people actually taking the vaccine. There are anti-vax groups. We have had anti-vax protests recently. We've had people fighting against like the lockdowns and things like that, which weren't even really lockdowns, honestly. They were just restrictions so that you couldn't spread the virus. Like that was the whole point. People working in the public school should have been priority. Healthcare worker or not. Agreed. Yeah, you can't have Abby's girlfriend. You can't have my girlfriend. Kubrick died. His wife claims from foul play right after he released Eyes Wide Shut, a movie about a ruling elite that has a lot of secrets. Could be sus. Pretty good numbers here in Japan. We had a huge delay in supply of getting vaccines, but we're just now hitting 75% one dose and 64% double. The world is getting there slowly but surely. Which, is good. The more people that are vaccinated, the better off we're going to be. The closer we'll be to stopping this thing. But yeah, as you can expect, there have been anti-vax protests. There was a pretty big march in Melbourne recently, if I'm not mistaken. Was it? I think it was in Melbourne, which was largely protesting like the restriction of freedoms because they were in lockdown. We're just going to call it lockdown, even if it wasn't like strictly lockdown. You just couldn't do a lot of everyday things that you were used to. Like you couldn't go to the shops. Clara, Clara? Hang on. Why is that an option anyway? Why did I make that a thing? There we go. Have 60 seconds in the timeout corner. Can't use the hug redeem at the moment because my GF is otherwise indisposed. Anyway. But yeah, that's how Wikipedia handles it, listing other victims of Nazi persecution in the article on the Holocaust. That's good at the very least. There was a pretty significant, if I'm not mistaken, anti-vax protests somewhere in, was it in New South Wales? We already talked about the, and I mean there were anti-lockdown protests in Sydney as well, but that's not really specifically the vaccine, even though I know anti-vax sentiment was a part of those protests. Like they had a list of demands, and one of the demands was no vaccine mandates. you know. You're only allowed to use it once per stream. Yeah, that you are. It's to encourage other people to use it. Otherwise, I'll just get spammed with it. Welcome back, Clara. Hello, Ren. How's it going? How's things? We're talking about vaccines at the moment. We're talking about vaccines. Speaking of, should we talk about Dr. Fauci? You know, controversial figure. This was really published yesterday. Okay. They did have a list of demands. Yes, the freedom protesters. I'd have to go find it, but ultimately, like the anti-lockdown protests that happened in Melbourne recently, I think they were generally discovered to have ties to the alt-right, like a lot of the people involved in it. And there was some. They did have a list of demands, and they were saying like the protest was under the guise of there are laborers who want to get back to work, and it seems like a lot of labor-related unions. I can't remember the full story here. I'm not remembering every detail. I'm fuzzy on this. But at least one major union who the protesters were claiming they were affiliated with outright stated, we are not affiliated with anyone involved in those protests, and anyone who does work for our company is going to be reprimanded. You know. Always refer to Tim Minchin when talking to anti-vax conspiracy theorists. Open your mind too much and your brain will fall out. Yeah, exactly. And this is an interesting thing that I saw yesterday. Fauci says he is polarizing because he supports science, data, and hard facts and not conspiracy theories. Dr. Anthony Fauci has advised the White House on COVID-19 since the start of the pandemic. He told Fox News' Chris Wallace he has become a polarizing figure because he stands with science. Sometimes the truth becomes inconvenient for some people, so they react against me, he said. Yeah, being the front-facing figure of such a worldwide thing has definitely done a number on this guy's reputation. Dr. Anthony Fauci has said he's become a polarizing figure during the pandemic because he stands with science, data, and hard facts instead of conspiracy theories. I have always stood for making science, data, and evidence be what we guide ourselves by, Fauci said in an interview with Fox News Sunday host Chris Wallace. And I think people who feel differently, who have conspiracy theories, who deny reality, that's looking them straight in the eye. Wallace told Fauci that at the start of the pandemic he was seen as an authority on infectious disease, but that he became a polarizing figure over time, with critics accusing him of sending mixed messages. He was doomed from the start. Anyone in his position was socially screwed. Absolutely, yeah. And science is polarizing. And when, like, this is the thing, the sending mixed messages is definitely not his fault, because when the pandemic was slowly evolving at the beginning of things, the information that they had was, like, they were stumbling through it to begin with. What do people expect? Science is not cut and dry. Science is not clean and neat. You know, science requires a lot of experimentation and discovering new information. He stood by the truth and that's inconvenient for people who believe in conspiracy theories. Those are people who don't particularly care for me, and that's understandable because what I do, and I try very hard, is to be guided by the truth, he said. And sometimes the truth becomes inconvenient for some people, so they react against me. Fauci, the director of the National Institute for Allergy and Infectious Diseases, is considered the nation's top infectious disease expert. He has been a central part of the country's COVID-19 response, serving on former President Donald Trump's task force and now as the chief medical advisor to President Joe Biden. Yeah, as always with science, you work with the currently available info. Exactly. When asked by Wallace if he has done anything if anything he has done has contributed to him becoming a polarizing figure, Fauci said he couldn't answer because he couldn't think of anything. Fauci disagreed with Trump on multiple occasions regarding the response to the pandemic, with members of the Trump administration attempting to discredit him. Fauci has previously said that he and his family have faced vitriol, including death threats. In the summer of 2020, his entire family had to be assigned personal security after people, including far-right QAnon followers, made threats against him. Scientists will not comment on trans women's objective attractiveness due to cancel culture. We're going to cancel everyone who doesn't think I'm fucking hot, okay? In Germany, we also have a virologist who is the target of everyone on the far right, Christian Drosten. This is the issue with these kind of things. Anytime there is some big, far-reaching international event like this, especially one as long and drawn out as a pandemic, especially one that, you know, introduces a new vaccine into the system, which is going to reinvigorate the anti-vax movement. We're going to be faced with a ton of conspiracy theories, a ton of people just tying little red lines of string between completely irrelevant and unrelated bits of information to try to make their point. People like a villain, and you can't throw punches at a virus. Exactly. Like the moment you humanize someone associated with the virus, like the chief health officer advisor to Joe Biden. Did you see the video with Ben Shapiro asking Neil deGrasse Tyson about the science of trans people? Neil's response was literally like, "Why do you care?" Yeah, I loved that video. That was so good. Main problem is he was originally telling us not to wear masks. I now know that it was to reserve them for medical workers, but I feel like half the problem is that people on both sides can cite things he said, which is the issue. You know, that's the major issue. Is like this is how conspiracy theories can become legitimate thoughts in people's minds, right? There's a lot of conspiracy theories out there that have no basis, no foundation. Flat Earth, for example, other such concepts. They've got nothing. They've got literally nothing to go off. But people get convinced by them anyway, right? Lots of people get convinced by conspiracy theories that have no foundation at all. Which just illustrates the point that the moment you introduce some legitimate information into that discussion around whatever that conspiracy theory is, that's when it becomes significantly more dangerous. Because all of a sudden, the conspiracy theory looks far more reasonable to the layperson. You know? The idea behind the conspiracy gets a lot more foundation to it, gets a lot more traction to it, if people can point to certain bits of actual circumstantial evidence and say, look, this supports my theory. This supports what I'm saying. You see what I mean? And that's, you know, the unfortunate situation with this is, like comments like, you know, you shouldn't wear masks because trying to reserve them for healthcare workers or whatever else. Or like, if you say the vaccines are not 100% effective, that's an argument against vaccines on the point of anti-vaxxers. It's like, oh, but it's not 100% effective. You can still catch COVID and die from it. You can still spread COVID. That's not really an argument against it, though, when we can look at the statistics of people who are being placed into intensive care as a result of getting COVID who are not vaccinated versus people who have gotten the vaccine. Like, I think like 99+% of people who have been placed into intensive care after the rollout of the vaccines for COVID, they're unvaccinated people. Like the people who have been sent to hospital and are put on ventilators and all that kind of thing, after the rollout of the vaccine, those people are those who are not vaccinated. Not necessarily anti-vaxxers, but if nothing else, that is circumstantial evidence that the vaccine is effective to an extent. So even if it's not 100% effective, it's still very effective in A, stemming the tide, or stemming the spread of COVID, and B, it's effective at almost nullifying the symptoms of COVID. But you can still catch COVID if you've got the vaccine. It just won't be as severe, and you can still spread it. So it's still a good idea to still wear your mask even if you're double vaxxed, etc. Can you comment on the vaccine making people have magnet powers? No, because I'm one of the people that got magnet powers, and I don't want anyone to get any ideas. Don't steal my magnet powers. Excuse me. You wish it felt like a win, but it doesn't. Yeah, with regards to the Ben Shapiro thing, it's not gonna really change any minds. I mean, maybe it would. This is the thing. I feel like people like Ben Shapiro probably have... Excuse me. I genuinely feel like people like Ben Shapiro probably have some more middle-of-the-road centrist-y viewers for some reason. Like, here's another perspective to throw at you. I remember reading a comment thread on Twitter recently about something or other, and somebody legitimately said, unironically, they watch The Quartering to get a different perspective. And I feel like there are people who do that with Ben Shapiro as well. Like, they will watch people like Ben Shapiro or Steven Crowder or like just reactionary far-right commentators to get a different perspective. And that can go one of two ways. If they're already pretty centrist, that's more danger to push them towards the right, of course. However, by the same token, if they are looking for different perspectives, they might get skewed more towards the left if they start watching leftist commentators on the same issues.
The Rogue Room appreciates your
Evelyn, thank you
recommendation.
so kindly with the host. Can you comment on the... Oh, I already commented on that one. And to be clear, if you're in hospital on a ventilator, you're not just chilling in a bed. You're kept unconscious because there's a tube down your windpipe into your lungs. Exactly. And yes, Magneto is a trans woman. one, but it wasn't actually a redeem. It was so you're off the hook for now. Colin Powell was vaccinated and died, but his doctors came out and said it was somewhat recent cancer struggle that made him immunocompromised. Yeah, exactly. So this is the thing: is like if anyone is fully vaxxed and they happen to die in the wake of being fully vaxxed, that's going to become another thing where people use that to facilitate their conspiracy theories about the vaccine. Where were we? Oh yeah, go watch my latest video essay if you haven't already. Oh, there we go. Lily has redeemed hugs. We're gonna have to wait a moment. Just. Oh yeah, I can go there. You can't see this one. Sorry, you're not allowed. Can I link my video? It's just there in chat. It should be there in chat. My bot posted Abigail's latest video essay, Socialized Mail, is now live on YouTube. Click on that link if you haven't seen it already. Some people have said they received. I mean, I've had some positive comments on the video. Is basically what I'm trying to say. There have been a few people who've told me that they related quite well to the stories I was telling in that video. On-screen hug would maybe kind of breach TOS. Your brother watches louder with Crowder. Ew. Ew. Punch your brother. Anyway, in Minecraft. At most 30 people do this. Do you mean with regards to the watching far-right commentators and then like actually like doing it for a different perspective? We should do a react to some like far-right commentary at some point. We should do another Ben Shapiro thing. That was the first video of mine that you saw. The algorithm suggested it to you, and you're here now. Awesome. I'm glad that I was wondering, like, I think Socialized Mail has actually been doing quite well. I haven't checked, because I've uploaded some YouTube highlights recently. So, like, my channel is a mix of video essays and YouTube highlights. And where were we? I think, like, honestly, some of my other videos are more popular, but the Socialized Mail is doing decently. 333 views. It's not terrible, and it's got 59 likes, which is probably higher than any of my stream highlights. Also, sports is good. I'm pretty proud of how sports worked out. Yeah, sports are meh, but sports the video is good. Yeah, exactly. Anyways, you only ever watch it when Riverboat Jack shows a video from them, so you get the filter of watching Crowder with fellow leftists. That's understandable. Maybe we should do that one day. Should we do a react to Louder with Crowder and Ben Shapiro and all those people one day? I feel like I should do another react to Isaac Butterfield, but I honestly can't stand him wiggling his stupid fuckwit beard around. But he's the exact same, honestly. He's just the Australian version of those kinds of people. If you watch any of his videos, it's the same exact shit. Except he is more explicitly a YouTuber, whereas Crowder and Shapiro and all that seem like they're more broadly talk show hosts in a sense. They definitely gussy themselves up as more political commentators, whereas somebody like Butterfield is more like an attempted comedian. You know? What? Yeah, I'm a comedian. I can say whatever I want and it's offensive, and as long as people are laughing, I'm a good comedian. Be good for metrics if you did that, probably. More than likely, I suppose. Like, people do like reactions to that sort of stuff. Anyways. But yeah, most of the videos on my YouTube channel are going to be highlights from streams like this. Which is fun. Hey, Evior, how you doing? I'm doing okay. I'm doing well. I'm doing alright. We're just chilling. Just kind of vibing. We already did the Fauci thing. Let's have a look. I'm not going to cover any more stories tonight about the R word. Let's get rid of that one. Let's have a look at... I don't know. What can we look at? I've got a couple of other stories here. Spain's Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez vows to abolish prostitution, saying it enslaves women. TikTok reacts, I could do that. Good look at Smudge, he's out of the room. This is one that I saw the other day, and I'm not sure I don't know what the deal is with this. This is metro.co.uk. Oh, we see you're using an ad blocker. Go fuck yourself. Let me use my fucking ad blocker on your shitty articles. Nobody's reading them anyway. Abolish prostitution. Yeah, exactly. It's one of those things where it's like abolish abortion. You're not gonna get rid of the problem. Anyway. This was a weird headline I spotted. 9 UK schools start scanning children's faces to take their lunch money. What? Several schools in Scotland are set to start using facial recognition software to allow pupils to pay for their lunches. The system, installed in 9 sites in North Ayrshire, scans the faces of pupils at the tills in order to save time during the busy lunch hour. It checks them off against a register of faces stored on the school servers and replaces software that used fingerprint scanners. The company that installed the systems claim they are more COVID secure and help speed up the queue, with each transaction now just taking 5 seconds, the Financial Times reported. This is weird. This is scary. What the... Oh, well, here's the cat. I think by saying his name, you've gotten his attention. David Swanston, the managing director of CRB Cunningham's, the company that installed the system, told the FT in a secondary school you have around a 25-minute period to serve potentially 1,000 pupils. Sounds like bullying. It does, doesn't it? They could have worded that better. So we need fast throughput at the point of sale, but privacy campaigners claim it further normalizes the technology, which is often being used without the consent of those being tracked. Hold up. What are we holding up? Oh, smudge. Why are we having kids scan their faces to pay for food? Better question, why do we make kids pay for their food? That is a good question. Honestly, it's to punish poor kids. But privacy campaigners claim it... facial recognition software is most commonly used at airports by border control and by police to look for criminals. But it has also been installed on people's mobile phones and is used by social networking sites to help organize photographs of friends and family. In schools, the software has been used to track attendance, leading to backlash in some areas like New York State, who have temporarily banned the practice. In England, it is up to schools whether to use the technology or not, and the Department of Education says it keeps no data on how widespread facial recognition is. North Ayrshire Council claims the majority of parents have given consent for the system, but they recognize that it makes the process easier. Excuse me. But campaigners say less intrusive methods should be preferred. Silky Carlo of the campaign group Big Brother Watch told the FT, it's normalizing biometric identity check for something that is mundane. You don't need to resort to airport-style technology for children getting their lunch. That you do not. You went most days at school not eating because you had to show your free lunch pass and you got bullied for it. Oh, that's awful. And honestly, like that's the whole point of these systems, really. It's to facilitate this idea that without money, you're not worth anything. You either have to bring your own food, which is, you have to, generally speaking, if a kid's bringing their own lunch to school, that food's already paid for. But yeah, in my view, honestly, public schools, and this is the problem, public schools are generally underfunded. Abby, what? Oh, hang on. A pie shortage. On the right. Oh, hang on. On the right of that article. Let me have a look. Let me go back. Hang on. What did I miss? A pie shortage. Okay. Where is it? Oh, fuck right off. Jesus. It keeps doing this fucking ad thing. You can't read news articles without an ad blocker. Can somebody recommend me an ad blocker that circumvents this shit? Because, like, even if I'm in incognito... Anyway. Britain facing pie shortage because of rising cost of foil tins. So, like, even their ads... Even if I turn off my ad blocker, quote unquote, I don't get their ads anyway. Okay. Facing a pie shortage. Okay. That's weird. Alright. Not me puckers. Anyway, yeah, like... The unfortunate reality of the situation is, like, if a kid is... coming to school with food, if they've got a pre-packed lunch, that food's been paid for by the parent at the supermarket. And if the kid doesn't have lunch going to school, like if the kid doesn't have a pre-packed lunch, the expectation is that they'll go to the canteen and pay for it, which is then putting the cost onto the school, and public schools are notoriously underfunded. Like, I have heard so many stories about public school teachers having to literally buy resources for their own classroom out of their own pocket so that their students actually have the things they need to do their work, which is awful. So it honestly all comes back to the fact that public schools should have more funding and should be able to take care of underprivileged kids who are attending these schools and feed the little fuckers so that they can actually go the day without starving. You know, this is one of those things where I'm just like, fucking hell, dude. I really just unironically think, like, that at the very least, you know, if you still want to have a paid canteen at your school, because obviously the moment you start implementing like a free food system at public schools, that's going to be taken advantage of by parents who can afford to give their kids lunch money, or who can afford to give their kids a packed lunch, right? But there are legitimately impoverished families out there who are sending their kids to school and don't have the money to buy, like, even stuff for sandwiches or snacks or fruit or anything. They don't have the money for it, you know? And I think in that circumstance, there should definitely be a system where, like, maybe there's a few more luxurious items at the canteen, like a pie, like a hot dog, but they should have the resources on hand at the school to at least make poor kids a sandwich. But I guarantee you that argument is used in many countries like the UK as a reason not to have any free school meals. Yes, absolutely. And the best way you could do this, honestly, would be to just provide a school lunch to everyone attending the school. You know, just give them the option. Have an open canteen that everyone can go to and have the food provided. It's not like we have a shortage of food, you know. We legitimately do not. We're overproducing food. We've got enough to provide some for public schools, but they don't want to do that, because then it gets people into this idea that you get a handout. It's a stupid system. Hello, Fina. How you going? You're really old, but when I was in high school, we had to type a number and a pin into a machine to pay lunch, and there was no way to see who got free lunch or not. People couldn't get bullied for that, but again, just buy kids lunch. There should be a UBI for food at the very least for those that need it. Absolutely agreed. And honestly, that system sounds good. That system of, like, you know, you can't see who had a free lunch or not. That's a good system. Your kid's school gives everyone free lunch. Good. That's how it should be. 12 billion people crop 8 billion global population. Yeah, we literally produce more than we need. And we throw away a ton of it, is the issue. You know, we produce way more than we need. We could feed everyone. World hunger has been solved, is the problem. If your goal with, like, if you have some noble goal of, like, if I had all the money in the world, I'd solve world hunger. We solved it. It's already been solved. That issue has been resolved, except we're throwing away so much of it. We could feed the world. We could reasonably do that. They just don't. Because it doesn't benefit capitalism to throw that excess food at people who need it. If it's from tax money, then food could be provided to middle class and up kids for free or something, and it wouldn't hurt the system, you would hope. There were no school lunch programs when you were a kid, and your parents wouldn't buy food, so you grew up malnourished and severely underweight. I'm so sorry to hear that, Carly. Part of the reason we have too much food, though, isn't because it's trying to meet demands. It's because the farmers are subsidized per unit of food they make for whatever given one. Corn is the main one in America. And that crop is after we throw stuff away. The UK has major supply chain issues. Isn't that largely tied to Brexit as well? I remember reading a story recently where somebody was complaining about their local supermarket was missing numerous items, and it also turned out that person was a pro-Brexiter. So, like, they basically facilitated a loss of some of their favorite grocery items. It's like, good job, dickhead. You voted for the thing that literally worked against you. Do US high schools still serve fast food? Your high school had Pizza Hut. I don't know. I wouldn't be shocked, honestly. Biggest Texas law is the... Oh, when we stopped talking about Texas laws, didn't we? Well, we sort of moved past that one. We were talking about the recent law in Texas where a teacher interpreted the law about, like, teaching different perspectives on certain topics to mean that they should be teaching an alternative view of the Holocaust or something. Dumb thing. Sigh. The Texas government says they don't want to follow the rules of the virus and are putting children at risk. Never had brand corporations in your public high school, but you do think it was a thing for private schools, which wouldn't shock me, yeah. Matches voting for the Matchbox analogy. What is it? The leopards... Voting for the leopards ate my face party. I didn't think leopards would eat my face. That's basically it. Must be for the rich kids, definitely. think Real Dan Cody showed a video of his local supermarket and how a ton of the shelves were bare. Did I hear Daniel Craig likes gay bars? I did hear about this. I think it's rather amusing. Like, he goes to gay bars to avoid fights or something. Or even to avoid, like, I don't know what. Fangirls, probably. Yeah, true. But yeah, he goes to gay bars to avoid fights, generally, or something along those lines. To avoid normies. Hell yeah. Who's Daniel Craig? The most recent James Bond. I wouldn't say the current James Bond, because I'm pretty sure the last movie he did is the last one he's doing, and then they're moving on to a new one. To avoid fights and pick up women. Is he like anti-gay? I don't think he's anti-gay. I just think he's had this experience where, like, generally speaking, gay bars are probably a little bit nicer atmospherically. Because I haven't been in gay bars personally, so I can't speak to it. But you know, pardon? Yes, let's go to a gay bar. Let's find one. We're gonna find a gay bar. We're gonna go get drunk at a gay bar, lesbian bar, whatever. I'm gonna be gay as fuck. If you're not gay, you should be mindful of the space you're taking up if you do go to a gay space. True. That is a consideration I think a lot of people don't have. Don't get pissy when a gay guy hits on you. True. Better music, better drinks, better men. Go to gay bars because of the toilets. You love how the stalls have holes to rest loose stuff on. I'm hoping that's a joke. Like, James Bond filled both his double O's at 7. Your experience in a gay bar was nice, but you thought this was like homophobic guy likes gay bars, so you were misunderstanding the situation. Oh, I see. Maybe. Yeah. Are there designated lesbian bars? Maybe. I don't know. I feel like there'd have to be at least a couple. My cat's now on my amp. I've got my amp out because I've been sort of practicing a bit recently. Sorta, but not really. Sorta, but not really. Like, it's a tale as old as time that gay bars are where the gays are forced to go because they can't be in open. They can't be open in regular bars. Then eventually more and more straights started going there because they think it's cool, until it's eventually a straight bar that gay people aren't comfy at. This reminds me of the this reminds me of the tolerance paradox, honestly. That's what I'm reminded of, because we had this discussion recently about certain subreddits, right? Where, like, say we were talking about memes yesterday, and the no rules subreddit on Reddit. You go to the no rules subreddit, there's no rules. You can post anything you like, and ultimately what that leads to is a bunch of people who are reactionary, who are alt-right, who are whatever, just infiltrate that space and take it over, because the tolerance paradox states if you tolerate every viewpoint, eventually intolerant viewpoints are going to be facilitated and, what's the term I'm looking for here? Like, they're just going to become more commonplace. So that could apply there as well with regards to gay bars. And, you know, if you don't gatekeep them to just the gays, eventually the straights are going to infiltrate it, which becomes an issue for the gays, I suppose. Lesbian bars used to be a thing, mostly gone due to assimilationism. Well, yeah. So yeah, I don't know if that's at all comparable. I feel like it's probably a little bit comparable. Oh yeah. Here you go. Go entertain him. Over that way. I don't have it. Go away, cat. Anyways, yeah. Genuinely uncertain whether you want straight men to find me attractive at all. You're pretty, though, and can't help it. Well, yeah. Gotta go, class radio. Clara, have a good one. Excuse me. Less likely to get violent, hostility and violence or threats at queer bars. Well, that's good, at least. Yeah, I've never actually been to a gay bar myself because, you know, until the last year or so, I thought I was a cis dude who likes chicks. I'm still... I'm now a cis girl who likes chicks. I'm a cis girl, yeah. Unironically, I'm actually a cisgender woman. Yeah, I've been using the trans thing as a... It's a way to... I'm a transgender. I'm not actually trans. I've been a cis girl this entire time. I'm a biological woman. Abby's a sissy. I know. I'm a cis girl. I just have a very masculine sounding voice. These tits are all real, honey. Okay, I think we're probably about to call it there. What do you reckon? The one you went to had a drink called the Daddy Chill. Forget what was in it, but it was fucking tasty. As an ally / queer, can I as an ally / queer go to gay bars? I imagine so, yeah. I'm biological and I'm a woman. Exactly. Like the term biological woman or biological man is so stupid because you got biological, which refers to like scientific categorization, and then you've got man or woman, which refers to gender, and it's like that makes no sense. None of that makes any sense. Oh, Day is playing Sims. I was thinking maybe Grizzly. I was looking at actually Radhom is live. Let's go to Radhom because I was watching Radhom before. I was looking at Grizzly, but let's go to Radhom, who is doing a curated collection of various visionary video essays from lovely lefty content creators. Anyways, that's it from me for tonight. Thank you all for hanging out. It's been lovely having your faces here. I will be live tomorrow. I'll try to think of like a different way we can do tomorrow's stream. I don't know what you want to do. If you want to jump in the Discord, let's have a chat about it tomorrow. I'm probably going to like raid and run. I already said hi to Radhom earlier, so I'll pop in, I'll say hello, and then I'll say I'm going to jet off because honestly I want to go watch some more Hannibal with my girlfriend. Because I've never seen the show before and it's intriguing me, and sadly it got cancelled after its 3rd season, which means I'm looking forward to not having any fucking closure by the time we finish it. It's satisfying enough, that'll do. It's got to be more satisfying than the ending of Game of Thrones, which is still, ow, that hurt, one of my favorite stories of mass media failure, honestly. The way Game of Thrones was so great for a time and then absolutely collapsed. Remarkable. Anyway, go say hi to Radhom. Thank you so kindly for hanging out tonight, folks. I love your faces. Be kind to yourselves and each other. And I'll see you when I'm looking at you.